Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, a little bit pressed for the worry there. You're kind of getting everything all set up here at the last second on the show.
No, I'm all set up. I'm just, plugging some stuff in. Just because, I charge my Apple Watch while we do the show, so I won't forget it later and then have to recharge it later. Since I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of walking or anything during the show, I figure it's a good time to plug it in. And I'm like, well, you know what? I might as well charge my phone as well, too.
Lucky there.
That's what I do.
La-ti-da, Grumpy. Well, la-ti-da. But for those of you who are new to the channel, can't get over this. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is a twice a week All Islanders podcast. It takes place every single Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the content, there's a few things we encourage you to do. We encourage you to subscribe on YouTube to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action. Like on Facebook and follow on Twitter. And also, if you enjoy this content, the best way to let us know is by leaving a thumbs up. Apparently, that helps the algorithm. It helps get this fun time out to more and more Islander fans. The fun time of talking New York Islanders hockey out to more and more fans. Let you guys know you're not alone with your thoughts on this team. So make sure you leave a little thumbs up. And for Grumpy's sake, you can write down in the comment section 5-star review, because that's how Grumpy knows that you like the content. 5-star review, as Grumpy says.
Yes.
Man, Grump, let's just do a few.
What kind of shirt are you wearing? Can I ask what kind of shirt you're wearing? Those pajamas?
Yeah, I'm wearing pajamas. You got me.
Is that New York Met pajamas?
What? No.
What? Okay, I'm just looking at it. I didn't know what it was. It's like little, I don't know what's going on with that shirt.
It's a t-shirt.
Oh, okay. All right. Looks like you got food stains on it or something. I don't know. Yeah,
it's food stains. It's like little novelty stamps.
I bet.
Anyway, we also do one more general housekeeping item. We also have another podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Now, that's an all sports podcast. It's a podcast that takes place every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we go live again, 9 p.m. Thursday, 8 p.m. Sunday. And we talk anything and everything sports on that show. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the MLB, we talk about NFL, we talk about college athletics, we talk NBA, we talk world football. We literally talk anything and everything sports on that channel called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It can be found in the link in the description below or as a featured page on our YouTube channel. And I'm sure, as you could infer based off the title, it's myself, the Grumpy Old Man, and with our special guest, that magnificent Son X. He's on that show. And we just have a fun time riffing and just shooting the shit the entire time. So it's a good time. It's a good atmosphere. Come check out TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That'll be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now that all of that fun garbage and all that fun housekeeping is out of the way, Grumpy, time to talk a little hockey, a little New York Islanders hockey. We got to keep current with what's happened in the postseason since the last time we had spoken.
Okay.
Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers played, was it 4 overtimes, or was it almost 4 overtimes, or almost 5? However many overtimes. I lost count. I couldn't count that high, Grumpy. That's how enthralled.
12 and a half seconds from 4 complete overtimes.
Yes. So 4, I'm just going to call it 4 overtimes is what they had for the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. One to where Carolina, right? Whoa, Carolina. They got done steamrolling the Devils, and they were going to be on their way to winning a Stanley Cup. The Carolina Hurricanes, baby. If we didn't face Carolina, we'd be winning a cup, is what would have happened. If one bounce went our way, or if we had certain guys healthy, we would have beat Carolina and went right to the cup. Carolina wound up losing. I think that could be a potentially heartbreaking game for the Carolina Hurricanes. That could be a series-altering game to lose in the fashion they did at home.
Yeah, that's tough to lose 4 overtimes like that. I'm not saying it even matters at home, honestly, but you lose a game like that, Florida's feeling good about themselves. Carolina's picked up the chances that they missed. Bobrovsky was tremendous in net, as he's been just about all this postseason since he's come in for whoever the guy was previously in the Boston series. And I mean, Florida's good. They're playing much better defensively than they have in the past. I think it's also, you're starting to see that while other teams, it didn't affect them when Carolina didn't have their top forwards in there. You're starting to see that a little bit with Florida, because the goaltenders they're facing this time are really, really good. Certainly better than Vanacek and whoever the other Devils goaltender was. And I just think that, I mean, maybe Florida's just a team of destiny this year. Maybe, perhaps, just one game though.
Yeah,
Carolina's got to win today, though. I think you agree, right? Carolina's got to win tonight.
Yes. And again, Carolina's come out today and they've looked dominant tonight. You expect, right, if they were to have any chance in the series, they'd have to have an extreme bounce back after losing in the fashion they did. A very emotional loss anytime you're losing 4 overtimes. Again, I'll keep saying at home. That does matter, in my opinion. But they're out shooting, I think, the Florida Panthers something like 14-1 about halfway through the first period, and they get the lead there. Carolina does. So, I'll be interested to see how this game plays out there. Anytime you lose in 4 overtimes, it's going to be a possible emotional game, because that's what happened. We look back, we take the clock back to when that mighty Tampa Bay Lightning team got knocked out in the first round by the Columbus Blue Jackets. They, at that time period, had the best record in the NHL at that time frame, and they lost in a many overtime game against Columbus, the first game of the series, and wound up getting swept. I'm not saying, Carolina's going to get swept or anything like that, but this is a Carolina team, when you look on paper, right? They're the second best team in the NHL. They're a team that plays a defensive style. They have skating forwards. They've got, a few players that are out, but they're the favorites. They were the favorites against the Devils. They were the favorites against us. And I'd say they're the favorites against the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
But this is a Florida Panthers team that when we look at it, we forget how good this Florida Panthers team was the year before. I'm not a Paul Maurice fan. I'm not. I'll be as open and transparent as that as possible. But this is a team that we know has an extreme and an immense amount of talent. Look at the results that the Florida Panthers had last year under, head coach. Was it Bennett was the head coach?
First it was Quenneville, and then they had that issue, and then Andrew Burnett.
That's right. Andrew Burnett was the head coach. I apologize. But yes, speaking of how that kind of segues it in, Joe Quenneville is meeting with Gary Bettman to talk about his potential future in the NHL.
He'll be back.
Now, I think, right, with him meeting, I could tell you, I've got a strong degree. There's a strong degree of likelihood that Joel Quenneville will have a chance to coach again, whatever team takes the opportunity and risks to go ahead and pick him up as the new head coach. I'll tell you, some team will pick him up. You don't just say, "Hey, we're meeting again," just to have the sake of shooting the shit with good old Gary Bettman. It was like, "Hey, you served your penance of a year or year and a half. You're able to come back now."
Yeah, I don't see any negative blowback on him at all. I thought it was ridiculous that he was forced to resign. I thought it was ridiculous for something that happened 10 years ago that he had nothing to do with. I think that's just ridiculous. Just the times we live in, I guess, but he will get a job. Absolutely, he'll get a job.
Sure.
I don't know where he'll go, but he'll get a job for certain. He's just too good a coach, right? I mean, you got to look all time. He's got to be top 10 coach in the history of the league, in my opinion. He's really, really good. Yeah. I mean, think about what he did in Chicago, Florida, of all places. Let me tell you something. If Quinville coached Florida last year, I think they win the cup last year.
Now, here's the thing, too. Like, when you look at how sports are as an industry, look at the NFL, look at the MLB, look at the NHL, look at the NBA. It doesn't matter. For certain people, it doesn't matter what you do. You could flash guns all over the place on your social media as you're driving downtown. You could be carrying guns and weapons on the planes and in team facilities. And hey, just a little slap on the wrist, maybe an 8-game suspension is what you get. Or you go over there and pummel whoever you want. You could be acting like a maniac. You could be assaulting other individuals. If you're talented enough as a player and you're talented enough as a coach, it's crazy. It doesn't matter. Even if you do something absolutely abhorrent, because the fact that you could generate income for these other industries, these sports leagues, they're going to say, well, great, you can generate income. We just got to make sure that there's not going to be too much blowback. If we shove you under the rug a little bit and let things wait to cool off, then we could bring you back. Because that's in reality what it is. Right, it's the same across all of these sports, and again, like when we look at the scale of what players do and what coaches do, there's a varying scale. But think about this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like with Henry Ruggs, I know this is not the all sports podcast, but Henry Ruggs, right? He can be imprisoned. I think it's for like 5 years. Guess what? If Henry Ruggs could still play football 5 years from now, even though he killed that young lady when he was driving under the influence, the young lady and the dog going well over 150 miles an hour, intoxicated. 5 years from now, if he could still play football, he's going to magically get a job opportunity, even though he murdered somebody. That's just the way that these type of leagues work. It does, and everybody's they'll be upset about it for a while, but as soon as, hey, oh yeah, Henry Ruggs starts catching touchdowns, woohoo! Henry Ruggs, you're great. Oh, great, Ben Roethlisberger. I know you sexually assaulted 2 different ladies, but wow, you throw those great touchdowns. Ben Roethlisberger, we're so excited you're here. People have Kobe Bryant. It's all the same. That's my point is we knew that something like that for Joe Quinville was going to happen. You wait long enough, they always get introduced back in. That's just how unfortunately, and it's just how the way of professional sports are. It's going to get even worse the more and more professional gambling gets intertwined with all that stuff too. It's just they compromise the morality sometimes of that. But it is.
I was going to bring up the gambling thing because of all those Detroit Lions players who just got popped a couple of weeks ago, and you see the guys who are like, okay, Jamison Williams and a couple others are like good players. It's projected to be stars. They get 6-game suspensions, and the other guys who are just marginal players get a year and are immediately cut from their team. So what's the difference?
Exactly. Jamison Williams, 6-week suspension. Hey, because I'm a guy who was a tweener, I was a practice squad player. Well, I get a year-long suspension and I'm cut from the team is right. But it's just funny how like the varying levels of,
I didn't see Jamison Williams getting just cut immediately like the other guys.
Exactly. Wow, isn't that crazy? And there were other players too that were of higher pedigree that hey, you're going to be a 6-game suspension, but don't do that one again. It's just it's really funny how selective. If you could still play and you could still produce, no matter what it is, as a head coach, general manager, as a player, they will find a way to be like, yeah, you're just going to have to go off a little bit in the sunset, but we'll bring you back. That's how that stuff, unfortunately, that's how that stuff always works.
Yep.
But we're not that type of show. Let's move along. Islanders, Grump. the New York Islanders. We're seeing a lot of this over the off season.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What has changed or what has happened since the end of the season? Have we heard anything from anyone?
Well, that's one of the points I was going to bring up.
Oh, okay.
We still have not heard from Lou Lamoriello, from Lane Lambert, from ownership. We've not heard from anybody still yet.
What does it mean? Do you have any idea? What does it mean?
I'm kind of a little disappointed the longer and longer this goes. I think, well, right? What do you do, though, with an angry fan base? We just kind of start shoving a little bit under the rug. And when we come out there and announce what should be an abject failure of, hey, we still believe in the core of this team. We still do. Well, you know what we got to do? We've got to let the fan base cool off a bit. We just kind of got to have to go ahead and push this a little bit to the side. So take a little bit of the emotion and the anger that the fan base would have out of this equation out. Because if we say this a month from now or 2 months from now, fan base won't be as upset as if we said this immediately right afterwards.
What you worry about is some of the fan base just tuning you out, though. You know, if you don't.
Most fans don't really pay much attention. Let's be honest, though. Most fans do not pay attention on a consistent basis. They tune into a game here or there, and they say, great, the playoffs. We're going to win the Stanley Cup. That's how most fans are. Most fans are not diehard. The casual fan is not.
Okay. But I'm just saying that, you know, let's say you see, right, you certainly got a whole lot of fans making 2 Eastern Conference Finals runs, and then you don't make the playoffs, and then you fire your coach, and you wait a week after that, and then this second off season, you get beat in the first round of the playoffs by a team that was decimated by injuries. You were fully healthy, and you don't hear anything from the team. Eventually, it's just like, well, you know what? Yeah, okay. I rooted for them for a couple of years ago, but you know what? There's no reason for me to root for them now because we don't hear anything from ownership. We don't hear anything from anyone on what's going on with the team, what direction, any offseason plans, you know, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the team? What are you trying to improve in the offseason? Nothing. You hear that from every other organization. And even as a marginal fan, I would think these guys just don't care. I'm not saying the players. I'm saying like ownership.
Okay. The common fan, if I said, who's the owner of the New York Islanders? They would not know that answer. The common fan doesn't even know who the ownership group is of the New York Islanders. Let's be honest about that.
Well, okay, but still, you're thinking that they don't care. Everyone knows Lou Lamoriello is a general manager, right?
No, I didn't say that they don't care. What are you talking about? You're not paying attention?
I'm saying ownership gives the impression, or the higher-ups give the impression to the fans that they don't care because they haven't said, these are the things we need to work on to get better. We're going to do this, 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 and this to get better for next year. And I think if the fans don't hear that, they're like,
I think I think it's such a 15-minute news cycle to where the longer you stay quiet and silent on that, the more it's like, oh, well, I was upset that nothing came out originally, but I'm watching the NBA playoffs and I'm watching some NHL playoffs and I'm watching the Mets and I'm watching the Yankees and I'm watching this team and that team and I'm getting ready for the NFL start to the season. So the longer they push off the abject failure in addressing the abject failure that this season was, when they come back and readdress it, it's not going to be like salt in the wound because the wound has a chance to recover a bit. So when they come out and say something unbelievably freaking what should be shocking to the fan base, well, if you wait a little bit, a portion of that fan base is already tuned out and gone someplace else. And hey, when you make that announcement, it's not going to have as much as a sting as it probably should have because we waited a while to announce it. That's what I mean, Grump.
Okay, I'm just saying that out of sight, out of mind. It's real easy when your team is not very good just to say, well, you know what? All right, we suck again. So let's just, you know what? Well, hey, that's right. We have the NFL coming up. The Jets are going to be exciting. Giants coming off a playoff run. They went after the Jets go after Aaron Rodgers. The Knicks came off a playoff run. Maybe people just stop watching the Islanders. I mean, you have to talk to your fan base. You have to talk to your fan base. You just can't tune it off and say, well, that's fine.
You have to talk to your fan. You're not understanding the point I'm trying to make, and I'll try to make it one more time. Again, they're going to address the fan base, but I think there's a reason they're waiting as long as they are. I think when they come out and address the fan base, it is going to be a miserable address for the fan base. So what they're hoping by waiting this amount of time, Grumpy, is they're hoping that some of the anger that would have been delivered upon the fan base by them waiting will be diluted because people will be doing other things. Because the sad truth of it is most in general hockey fans and general Islander fans will not be tuning back into the Islanders until October comes back around. When your team got knocked out of the playoffs, they still have that buyer's remorse, and they just keep on looking. Oh, shit, I can't believe it. If this went different, if that went different, we'd be in a different situation for the Islanders. We would have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. We would do this. But as soon as you let that kind of subside, the 15-minute news cycle, they're on to the next thing, and they're not tuning back into the Islanders until October comes back around. What did we do in the offseason? They swept it under the rug, and they kept things quiet. That's the point I'm making, Grump. I don't know what you're
if you don't make any moves, fan base is going to notice. They're going to say, you know what? We made the playoffs, squeaked in, didn't make the playoffs the year before. Same guys on the team. Why should I even bother watching? That's the way I look at it. If you don't talk to your fan base and you see the results, but you've seen the results for the last 2 years, and you don't talk to your fan base about improvements you're going to make, and you don't make any, fans are going to just tune you out. That's what they're going to do. Losing fans from losing teams don't watch the teams. They don't go to the games. They don't. You have to win.
That those portions are correct. I'm not saying they're not going to address and speak to the fans, Grumpy. I'm saying is they are waiting so that the majority of fans who tune in come opening day next year, right? Those fans that were still there that would be, yeah, what the hell? Why are they not going to do anything? Grumpy, most fans just follow the way of the wind.
Do you really think they're not going to say anything to the fans till the beginning of the year? They got the freaking draft. They got the draft and free agency coming up.
You're not listening to the point. I think they're going to.
Your point is stupid. Maybe I don't want to hear it because it's just dumb.
Yeah, because you're watching you doing other shit. But your
point is stupid. Your point is stupid. Guess what? You're allowed to have stupid points. You just had one right now.
I didn't. I'm saying out of the teams that have addressed, out of every team that's not in the playoffs right now, Grumpy, how many teams have not addressed their fan base?
Probably none.
One team, Grump.
Right, us.
The point I'm making, Grumpy old man, is the reason why that one team has not addressed the fan base is because when they're going to address the fan base and what they're going to say is not going to go over well with the fan base, the vast majority of the fan base. So they're hoping the majority of the fan base says, let me change the channel real quick until it comes back on, until the team comes back on in October, because that's how most fans are. So they're hoping they have enough of the people change off of the channel real quick to start looking at the other picture. So when they come and address the fan base, it's not going to be like, oh, what the fuck? We're ready to burn the building down. That's what they're hoping for. That's my point.
Most fans are not like that. Most fans think that they're just one shift away from being a Stanley Cup champions. The fly-by-nighter fans, the ones that you're so worried about who only tune in, in season, they seem to think, hey, it doesn't matter if they talk to them or not. You're alienating your hardcore fans by not telling them the truth.
Hardcore fans don't go anywhere. They don't. It's the same reason why you and I are stuck through the miserable 2 decades of the New York Islanders, because we're diehard fans. They could come out there and they could be bottom 5 in the NHL for the next 10 years in a row. We would still be fans because guess what? We're diehard fans. How often do diehard fans leave? In reality, they're not worried about the diehard fans leaving. They're worried about the common fan who just kind of is like, oh, yeah, are they good? Are we kind of tuning in? What's exciting nowadays? Those are the majority of fans, Grump.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on from that because I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Cool. So what do you think they're waiting?
I just think that they wait because that's what they do. Because that's what Lamoriello wants to do.
They waited before.
That's why they don't announce any signings until the week before training camp. They did that the offseason after coming off of an Eastern Conference final loss to Tampa. They didn't sign anybody or make any moves until the week before training camp.
Did they wait?
Last year when they didn't make the playoffs, Lou Lamoriello comes in on television and calms down the masses. That's what he did. He did an interview with Shannon Hogan, 2-parters over 2 periods, saying what he was going to do in the offseason. This year was a failure too. He didn't talk to the fan base. He hasn't talked to the fan base. It's 3 weeks now since we've been eliminated? I mean, maybe he's gone. Maybe he's there. Someone needs to come out and talk to the fan base.
Why, Grumpy? I understand that. But why did they not? Why have they always, every single year in the past, under this ownership group and under this management, have they gone out and addressed the fan base once the season's over? Why this year is it different, Grumpy? Can you tell me
Because
why? I
maybe
want
because
to hear your
Lamoriello's
thought
not under
process.
contract. Maybe because Lamoriello's not under contract.
So you think Lamoriello's contract does not expire until June. So he's still under contract right now. That's just
guess
not
what?
true.
Why would he talk about the team if he's going to be here for another 2 weeks? For instance, maybe he's gone. Maybe Gross is wrong with his reporting. Someone, I don't care if it's ownership, GM, coach, whoever, needs to come out and talk to the fan base.
I don't disagree with
This
you
is
on
the
that point.
path. This is the path. They can't wait until August to do that.
I don't disagree with you on that point. I am saying the topic of conversation for us
I don't
today
think you
is
lose fans
why have
because
they
you haven't
still
talked to anyone.
not? No, that's not what I've said. That's not the point I've made. You did not listen to the point. But
Your point is
the
a
question.
name.
No, you obviously are not able to follow it. But that's
Because
fine.
it's stupid. It's just dumb. It's
You keep
just
bringing it back
dumb.
to that. I'm not trying to bring it to that point.
You're
I'm
playing
asking
a
you. I'm
semantics
asking
argument.
you to give me the reasoning, Grumpy, as to why.
I just told you the reason. I just told you the reason. Maybe he's not under contract. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to the fan base until he gets a contract extension. Maybe they don't know what they're doing with the coach. Someone needs to come out. Someone should have come out right at the end of the season and said, hey, look what Toronto did. They waited how many days and they said, Dubas, we're not bringing you back. Dubas went and talked to the fan base and said what he wanted. He wanted to stay in Toronto. They let him go.
Okay.
So that's happened in Toronto. The only place is here. There's no reason for it not to happen because they don't know what they're doing in the front office. That's what it tells me.
Okay. So that's your answer. They don't know what they're doing in the front office. Jesus, it's like pulling teeth.
Well, but they don't know. They don't know if he's under contract or not. They're not going to bring up.
Stop. He is under contract. He's under contract until June. So yes,
Lou
Lamoriello still under contract.
Why would he come out and talk to the press if he's not signing a contract extension at 82 years old? Why would he do that? Okay, so you have no answer.
Yeah,
we don't know. That's why
I'm shaking my head. He's still under contract. When you have like here's for example, Andre saying Kevin Kurtz was saying that the Islanders PR has granted writers access to Lou Lamoriello when they've requested it. Something's going on. Grumpy, when we hear from Andrew Gross that they're bringing back the same cast and crew, he works for Newsday. How wrong do we think he is, right? The longer they wait, I don't think, right, if you're on a GM search and you're on a head coach search, you're probably going to announce that, hey, we're going to start a search like that because we believe there's other viable candidates. You don't say, we're just going to sit on our hands and not start.
They don't say anything. Someone needs to come out and say something. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it has anything to do with the fan base. I don't think them waiting to say it is because they don't want to alienate some marginal fans who don't watch the game as seriously as we do. I think it has nothing to do with anything. I just think they don't have a clue what they want to do. They don't know what their message is. They have no idea. That's what I think. They just don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with alienating fans and just hoping they come back in October. I just think that's just stupid.
I think it's to pacify the fans, not to alienate.
You want to pacify fans?
Misrepresentation of my comments to pacify the fans, Grump.
You want to know how you pacify the fans? You come out and tell them we're going to be making, like he's done every year, we're going to make hockey trades. Even though if he doesn't do it, he's pacifying the fans. He did it last year. Why has he not done it this year?
How many times do you think they can replay the same exact record when fans are like
5 years? Because they've done it for 5 years now in a row. 5 in a row.
They've
done it for 5 years in a row.
Have you noticed that kind of the tenor when they keep saying that kind of changes amongst the people who listen to the show and just even the general fans on Twitter? The tenor changes for that, Grumpy.
Not for me, it didn't.
No, hold on. I'm not talking about for you and I. We are not the normal fans. You have to understand this, Grumpy. You and I are not normal fans of this team. The normal fans, the tenor's starting to change when they continue to say the same exact line of shit. When you keep saying the same thing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, the tenor starts to change amongst the fan base.
That's why you need to go out and talk to them. You don't let it go on. You have to talk to them. You must talk to the fans because if the message is getting stale, not talking to them just makes it worse. Doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Period. Let's say somebody's been telling you something for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, and it hasn't worked, and then they stop talking to you after something, and you're like, well, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? That's where this team is right now. I think that's what fans are thinking. What's happening?
Let's give a work scenario. If you're working and they've been promising that they're going to do something over and over and over again, but in reality, right, this is going to solve our problem. If we do X, Y, and Z, you're not going to have the problems on the job that you currently have.
Okay.
Well, they keep saying that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, but the problems, right? If we keep doing X, Y, Z, the problems are going to go away. The problems are still there. If you
Okay.
are, hold on. If you're still a worker of that company, right? And they keep saying over and over again, if we do A, B, and C, this big problem we have as employees is going to go away. But you notice, hold on a second, that problem's not going away. Well,
Okay.
we're hoping that some of that freaking problem, if it's like certain portions of the year, it gets busier than others. Well, they want to wait till that busy time period's over, till the emotions for the fans kind of cool off a little bit. I think they're trying to wait till the emotions cool off a bit before they come out and address, which I think is stupid. I think they need to come out and address. I agree with you on that point. I think they're trying to wait for the emotions to die down for the average everyday fan.
No, this is what happens. This is what happens in the real freaking world. This is what happens. If they're telling you we want to, especially at a company, which I worked for many, many years, when they tell you this, that, and the other thing, it may sound like lip service, but then if you're expecting that the next year and they don't say anything, you know what it says to me? They don't give a shit anymore. They just don't care anymore. They've checked out, and I've checked out there. That's what it says to me. If you don't talk to the fan base or your employees like you have every year, even if it's, just a company line of BS, every year they say it to you, this is what we need, and then all of a sudden that part of the year comes up again, and you just, well, we're just not going to do that anymore. What does it say to the workers? It says the company doesn't even care. They don't even care if we're trying to get better and try to reach goals. They don't care. And then that's when the fan base or the workers say, you know what? If they don't care, I don't care. That's what it says to me.
It says something to other people where it's, wow, they must be deliberating actual change, perhaps. And after hard deliberation, they still came to the idea that this is the best way forward. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. It says to some fans, though, and it does. So anyway, they still the big issue is, right, we've gone ahead and jockeyed for two different points as to why the hell the Islanders still have not come out and addressed the fan base. I don't know, almost a month after getting eliminated from the postseason. No matter how you cut it and how you look at it, it's still unacceptable how the New York Islanders have not addressed their fan base almost a month after getting eliminated from the postseason.
Are they going to show up for the draft?
It's unbelievable.
Are they going to show up for the draft? Who knows? What if maybe they just come and say, screw it. You know what? We're just not going to do anything till October. They don't care. Tells me they don't care. That's why I think people think they don't care. They don't even care enough to say anything to you. It's not, they're waiting for the fan base to cool down. Nobody waits for the fan base to cool down. You talk to them at the end of the year. You do end of the whatever. This is what happened this year. This is how we have to get better. When you don't do it, fans think you don't care. They just think you don't care enough to talk to us, your paying customer. That's what fans think. They're not cool. They're not waiting for somebody to cool down. They got most of this fan base snowed into thinking they're one move away or one lucky puck bounce from winning the Stanley Cup. That's the majority of the people think that.
I do believe that.
So you could shovel shit in their mouth and they'll just say, thank you very much. So you're not, your point is just freaking wrong. Okay. It's just wrong. That's all I'm saying. It's so wrong.
It's not, Grumpy.
It's 100% wrong.
I think
it's a poll. Do a poll. You vote for the grumpy old man or dumbass TJ? Just put it down just like that. I guarantee you get pounded in that poll.
I'll be honest, Grumpy. If we phrase it as, are you voting for the grumpy old man or dumbass TJ? I think that poll may be trying to sway the opinions. If we start saying like dumbass TJ or dumbass grumpy old man, maybe that might sway the opinion of the poll. Just perhaps.
Fans think they just don't care enough to tell us about the direction of the team. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Or they don't know, which is even worse than I don't care. That's what I'm saying. I don't know is worse than I don't care.
Yeah, but no matter what, it's still, I think, a failure that they have not even come out and address the fan base. It just still is to me, that's still mind-boggling.
Agreed. You're almost like what? It's at least 3 weeks now, right?
It will be on this next Friday. It will be a month, a full month. So the last game of hockey we played as the New York Islanders was April 28th. And there has been radio silence from our ownership group, from our general manager, from our head coach. Radio silence.
I mean, last year,
Radio silence.
Last year, they had the GM talk on the telecast at the end of the year when they didn't make the playoffs. They didn't wait a month for the fan base to cool down after they were saying Stanley Cup or bust and not make the playoffs. They didn't wait a month to say,
they had the majority of fans thinking that, oh, this year is a one-off because of we're not going to use this as an excuse, but 13-game road trip, but COVID, but they had everybody believing those excuses. And it just wasn't true. This year, they don't have those excuses to continue to roll out.
They just make a new excuse. Matt Barzell was hurt. You heard from people on the site the last show. Matt Barzell was hurt. Adam Pelech was out. That's an excuse. Every team has injuries. The excuses are your team isn't good enough. What are you going to do to fix that? What can you do? How about what can you do? That's the big question. What can you do, Lou Lamoriello? You've pissed away all our draft picks. You've pissed away all our young players. What can you do to make this team better? You just signed a guy to an $8.5 million for 8-year extension, and he got, what, 10 points for your team since he got here? Do you think that's a mistake? Do you think, in hindsight, that was a really dumb trade and signing by you? That's a legitimate question. Let him wiggle. Let him wiggle. Why didn't you move Varlamov for assets? I press him on that. Do you feel now, you said you didn't consider it. Why would you not consider that? Isn't that your job, is to consider everything to make the team better? So are you trying to say you're not capable of doing the job anymore? Because that's a question I wouldn't be afraid to ask him. As they kick my ass out the door, that would be a question I'd ask him.
That's the thing, though. As they,
but here's the thing: Newsday could get away saying that. We said it before. Newsday could get away saying, and the only place is Newsday.
I agree with that. Absolutely, I agree with that, Grumpy.
But they have no balls, any of them. They're all petrified of the old man, and that's why they don't feel like he treats the fans as peasants, as serfs. And remember, he thinks it's his freaking team. You know what? If I was the owner, dude, this is not your team. Okay? You are my employee. You're my serf. Get your job done. Get out there. Get in the freaking dirt. Plant the damn shit, because we need a better team here. Because without that, we're not going to have all the little rows of fans growing because you're too dumb or lazy or stupid or old to actually plant the crops. You do what I tell you to do. I don't do what you tell me to do. I pay your salary. That's what they need to have a real talk. I don't think maybe they're too scared to have a talk with them like that too. His ass would have been gone long ago if I was owner. Long ago.
We can't upset Lou Lamoriello because Lou is the best thing that's ever happened to, because this is what's making their rounds now. And we love Stefan. Love Stefan Rosner. I think he's one of the best beat writers, if not the best beat writer there. The best beat writer the Islanders have. Okay, let me make a firm statement. Best beat writer the Islanders have. Now, here's what we're starting to see. And other fans are starting to come up as, you know what, this season it was actually a little bit more rosy than we think, even though the end results weren't good. How do people view Lamoriello's year? Well, he traded here's what it entails in the post. We traded the 13th overall pick away for Lamoriello. Or for Romanov. We signed Matt Barzal to an 8-year, $9.15 million AAV extension. We traded away Beauvillier, Ratu, and a conditional first for Bo Horvat. We signed Bo Horvat to an 8-year extension, $8.5 million AAV. We traded the 2024 third-round pick for Pierre Engvald. We signed Hudson Fasching to a 2-year extension at roughly about $775K a year. Okay. That did happen, but the big thing that we're missing to judge, I think, I'll let you respond first because I have a thought process on these type of polls.
Very easy. Here's the thing. How did number one turn out for you? I give that grade a C. I'll give it a C because he did play this year. He did contribute to the team for a 13th overall pick. C. Signing your own guys back means nothing. You don't get a grade for that. Absolutely, you don't. So that one's off the board. That trade for Horvat, generous. I'll say a C. Generous, I'll give him a C on that. Signing Horvat to that extension, once again, signing your rolling guys gets absolutely no credit for me at all. Cross that one off. Trading a 2024 third-round pick for Pierre Engvall, give it a C. Who cares? And then signing Fashing back. So what? You're signing your own guys back. It means nothing. You're able to sign your own guys back. Who cares? How many really big-name free agents hit the market every year? You don't see it happen anymore because smart GMs get that stuff taken care of way before they come up as a possible UFA, way before. They're smart. The fact that he lets it go that far gives him Fs. If you want to give him a grade for those signs, it's F, because he wasn't smart enough or couldn't read the tea leaves enough to know he should have done it earlier. Same thing with Sorokin. Why do you sign a guy and get him right to unrestricted free agency? It's stupid. Every time you do that, it's asinine and dumb. He did it with Pulak. He did it with Pelech. He did it with Barzell. He did it with Horvat. He's going to do it with Sorokin. That's what he does. This is not 1980 and 1990. It's 2023. The game and the way it's played and the way the front offices work have totally changed. The game has passed Lamoriello by. Period. End of sentence. End of story. That's just it in a nutshell.
I don't disagree with that. And now the thing I think that has to be added when we look at something like this, when we look about the tenor, because when you look at these moves, right, I think the 13th overall selection for Romanov is a loss. Islander fans are saying, oh no, Romanov is far more valuable than the 13th overall pick.
No,
I don't agree with that.
not yet.
Not
He's
yet.
still young. He's still young though, right? So he gets a benefit of that. He gets another year, but that's a C. That's a C because he contributed to the team this year. So that's why he gets a C for that move.
Okay. Signing Barzal to an extension, I give him, that's going to be a B plus or an A, right?
Nope.
Signing Matt Barzal to an extension, I'm happy he got that done. It's not a huge, like if we're talking about, right, it's an A, but out of the percentage of the overall grade, it's like 2% of your overall average is on signing Matt Barzal, signing back your already existing contracts.
How does that improve the team? How does that improve the team?
It doesn't.
Okay, then like that's why it doesn't count, because it does not improve the team.
This is my point. I'm on the same wavelength. The general manager, how you should evaluate how he performs is not only the moves he makes, but what the result is regarding the season. That is extremely important. Like the Carolina Hurricanes. If you look at the Carolina Hurricanes every year, if we go through the list of what happens for the Hurricanes and judge the list of this moves before the end of the season, I'm going to say I'm not coming back with rosy reports every single year for the Hurricanes, because every year I question what they do, but the end result is significant. The end result is more than it's more than in the right direction. So even though I question some of the moves they make, it results in a positive outcome every year. So what's the end outcome? I think that's when we look at Lamoriello's performances, you have to look at the end outcome of the season. The second year in a row of not making the postseason, but you now are starting to see.
We did make the postseason this year.
Okay, my point is, what did I say? I'm sorry.
The second year in a row not making the postseason.
The second year in a row not winning a postseason, not winning one series round, not winning one round of the postseason. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Second year in a row where we got bounced in the first round or didn't make the postseason. We were done playing hockey before May. So, second year in a row. Now, this is what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing a lot of this coming around. Since Lou Lamoriello was hired, here's the Islanders' record. Total record of, let me put this up on screen. Total record of 194, 133 and 43. 0 losing seasons, 4 playoff trips in 5 years.
It's 5. It's not 4. It's 5. It's not 6 playoff series. It's 5. The playoff doesn't count. It means you were lucky to even qualify for the playoffs. It was a play-in. That does not count. They've won 5 playoff series in 5 years. Who cares? You know what? That's any team in the NHL. That's what that is. Any team in the NHL. So it would be like, okay, how many playoff series have you won the last 2 years? 0. How many division titles have you won? Zero. How many Eastern Conference championships have you won? Zero. How many Stanley Cups have you won? Zero. That's what's happened since Lou Lamoriello has been GM. The same thing that's happened for the last 45 years. You've won nothing. So, okay. So you want to say, okay, so our team is a marginal playoff team that before the last 2 years would win a playoff round or two. And that's it. And now they don't win those anymore. Okay. And don't even make the playoffs. But that's a success. Okay. Here's the thing. If he transitioned away from the roster that he had when he inherited the team, maybe we'd be on an upward trajectory. We're not. That's why we're not winning playoff series anymore. That's why we're barely scraping into the playoffs. We're a wild card team now. That's what happens when you're not proactive as a general manager. He's not proactive. He's reactionary. That's why his team's not going anywhere with him at the helm. Sorry, not happening.
Okay.
Here's the thing. It wasn't because of him. It was because Barry Trotz was the coach. That's the reason why this team made the playoffs, won some playoff rounds. Not for anything that Lou Lamoriello did. It's what Barry Trotz did.
Okay. The reason I'm showing you these, Grumpy, is to say, oh, wow, look, with Lamoriello, 0 losing seasons. Look, we're making the postseason. Oh, wow, the 10 seasons before Lou Lamoriello. Look at our record. Only 3 trips to the postseason in 10 years. Only 1 playoff series in 10 years, guys. So, even though the results haven't looked good over the last 2 years, look at what we had before Lou Lamoriello.
I wonder how much.
That's why we've got to keep Lou around.
I'll bet you we spent just as much money in those 5 seasons that Lamoriello has been here than we did in all 10 with Snow in charge. And I didn't think Snow was a great general manager. But guess what? Charles Wang wasn't giving him any money to spend. That comment right there is asinine because you're not looking big picture. Honestly, big picture is Charles Wang was owner and everything was on a budget. They were barely making it to the cap floor some years.
Yep.
Because they didn't have money. Wang would not spend the money. These owners spend money. These owners are not afraid to spend money, stick their hands in their pockets and spend money. That's a big difference. Maybe that's why they're making the playoffs. Because you think they would have signed, if Snow was a GM and Charles Wang was owner, you think they would have signed Anders Lieback and Brock Nelson and Jordan Eberle? Absolutely not. They would not have. They all would have left, just like Okposo left and Nielsen left. And then they did the reactionary signing of bringing Andrew Ladd in. The fact that all those guys came up together and they hit free agency when they did is because they let the team grow from the bottom up when Snow was GM. And like I said, I don't think Snow is a great GM, but he was not allowed to spend the money that Lamoriello has been allowed to spend. Those are just facts.
Sure. I trust me, I don't disagree on that, Grumpy, but I find it funny the way they're trying to frame and posture things now.
Frame failure.
That's exactly what it is. We're framing failure. How do we frame failure so that it doesn't look that bad?
It's because the Islanders have been losers for so long. That's that losing mindset I've been telling you about for years. Fans, as long as, we're not the worst team in the league, hey, it's a success. No.
If you look at this relative to our past failures, well, these years have been successful because our past failures, right? We should be happy where we are. We shouldn't really care about the end goal. We should look at how miserable our franchise has been and just be happy and satisfied that we've won a few games and you've had a few playoff series runs.
And here's the thing, people like that, I can't help them. Anyone who thinks that this is a success because we're a borderline playoff team that got lucky in the playoffs a couple of years and we faced a team that was good, we got beat. I can't help you if you think this team is good enough. I can't. What are you going to say when we don't make the playoffs next year? Because that's going to happen. Guaranteed.
Or what if you say if we get bounced in the first round of the postseason again? Let's say even we make the postseason, get bounced in the first round.
I don't see how we even make the playoffs. I don't see it. I just don't see it. How do you make the team better in the offseason?
Well, now we're starting to get a lot of these. Look at our Corsi numbers since Pierre Engvald has joined the team, right? Our Corsi numbers have been fantastic. They've been off the wall. And if we had those type of Corsi numbers, we would have had different results all season long. That's what we're starting to see a lot of.
You know what? Your record is what it says you are. That's what it is. It's not better. We played weak-ass teams after the trade deadline. Really bad teams, and Sorokin is the reason why we made the playoffs. No other reason. You give us any other goaltender, we don't make the playoffs. Better pray he resigns. Better pray he resigns. Or you're going to have to move him.
I do agree with that. If he doesn't re-sign, we absolutely have to move away Sorokin. Imagine where we are there. If we're moving away Sorokin.
This team's we're in bad shape. This team's not going to be good for a long time. Long time.
Hard to think that way, but it's, and unfortunately, it's the truth, man. We have.
Again, I keep on everyone who comes, oh, well, we're going to do this, we can do this, we can do this. We're going to trade for this. What do we have that any team is interested in? No one can ever answer that question for me, because there's nothing that any self-respecting team would want for a William Nylander or a Pierre-Luc Dubois or anyone. Just name anyone. What do we have that anyone wants? You think because I'm sure Lou Lamoriello would never even consider trading Bo Horvat. We wouldn't even consider that. We wouldn't even consider moving a backup goaltender who's a UFA. If you're another team who's trading a young piece, are you going to want? What would you want? You'd want Noah Dobson, Matt Barzal, Ilya Sorokin. What else? What else on this team has real value to other teams? It's not Pierre Engvall. It's not some 27, 28-year-old third liner. It's not the identity line. It's not anyone on the third line. It's no one on the second line. You think they will? Yeah, we need a 32-year-old Brock Nelson, and we're going to trade you William Nylander. That's not going to happen. What benefit is that for Toronto? That's my point. No one can answer me the question. If you want to trade for someone who's good, you don't even have draft picks to move. You've already done that. You've already pissed those away for years and years. You don't have any prospects you could give them. What could you possibly give to someone that they would want? I don't want to hear, oh, yeah, we'll trade you Bailey and, Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck for Connor McMichael. I mean, it's just dumb. No one can give me an answer on what has any value to this team that doesn't weaken the team by moving them off to bring somebody else in. He's already pissed away all the young talent we had. No one ever wants our veterans. You ever notice? No one wants our veterans because our veterans suck. Those are just facts. Those are just facts. Our veteran group sucks. They're just ham and eggers, jags. That's what the veteran group is. All of them. Every single one of them. We have a couple of players on this team who are above average. Just a couple. Those are just facts, my friends. I hate to tell you. Hate to be the harbinger of bad news, but it's just the truth. Just the truth.
Grumpy, I think that's a good segue into our ad read here. I do. I believe it's a good segue. We'll let you get all calm and rested up, Grumpy. We've got an ad today to read from DraftKings. Hold on a second. Okay. God damn, I got things popping up all over my phone. Today's podcast, Grumpy, is brought to you by DraftKings. Light the lamp during the hockey playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly, Grumpy. So you could say, I'm thinking the Dallas Stars, even though they lost in overtime. I'm thinking they're winning the Stanley Cup. I'm thinking that Heischer is going to have a great game. You could I'm thinking that Heiskanen, is going to have a great game. You can bet on anything you want as a pregame money line. And pretty much, hey, if you put a $5 bet on, you get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up using the promo code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Again, that's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you have a gambling problem or somebody you know has a gambling problem, please go ahead and utilize the references in the link below there to go ahead and get help there on that side and help you through that. So they've got that in the link in the description below, as well as in the show notes. So that's where you're able to go ahead and find that information. And also today, Grumpy, we've got an ad to read from your favorite headphone place, Grumpy. You know what Raycon headphones. That's right, Grumpy. Raycon headphones. You love Raycon headphones.
You know what I think the problem is? Some of
the
the morons who thinking that we're successful
They
don't have the volume. They don't have the volume up on their Raycons. Couple of taps, you'll be able to hear it all.
Look, Grumpy, let me ask you this. Now, are you on board? Are you finally going to get yourself a pair of Raycon headphones?
I don't like the headphones. I don't like them.
No, Grumpy. You love headphones. Stop, Grumpy. You love Raycon's headphones. Come on. We've been down this road before.
I probably would, but I don't wear them because I don't like it makes my ears sweat.
No,
and they don't fit. I just can't. I can't do that. I like to blare my stuff so I'm walking, I can hear cars going, I can hear what's going on.
Well, that's a cool thing about Raycon, Grumpy. You listen to this ad, Grumpy, because you have the best of both worlds when you listen to the
realize
headphones. Yeah, Grumpy. So today's podcast is also brought to you by Raycon. Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, yes, and even without any customization, and our bank accounts somehow always depleting, we are officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently, solely based on brand names. So a good duplicate or dupe is crucial for getting the highest quality at the best price. One dupe you surely can't sleep on is Raycon's wireless earbuds. Raycon is a premium audio brand at the perfect price point, so you can listen and do what you want, when you want, without breaking the bank. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart technology and listening features. You can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than what you would for some of the other competitors and the other big name tech brands out there. And Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer a buy now, pay later option. And right now you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. They have an easy and free return guarantee, and they offer 2-year product protection, insurance for just a few dollars. And hey, they offer free domestic shipping and a flat rate international fee, and have over 50,000 5-star reviews.
That's a lot.
Just a few 5-star reviews, Grumpy, is all.
We need more of that. We need more of those type of 55-star reviews, 50,000.
Grumpy, how many people at the end of the show need to write down 5-star review in the comments for you?
Lots. 50,000.
50. You heard it here from Grumpy. Grumpy needs to see 50,000 different people saying 5-star review in the link down below. Okay. And they've got the customizable little customizable profile on the earbuds, Grumpy. So you could just go ahead and tap it if you're walking around and you need to be aware in the neighborhood, like Grumpy, you're walking around, you need to be able to wear, you just tap the little boom to put yourself in awareness mode. They're water and sweat resistant, Grump. The big item that you were talking about. And also you could go ahead and have noise isolation. So you could go ahead and say, I need to cut everybody off around me. I need to focus on what's going on in my little bubble. I need to tune the world out. You've got all of that there. But hey, go to buyraycon.com.
Can I wear those when you're talking stupid points? Can I just put them on, just ignore him mode?
Sure you can, Grumpy. Sure you can. Whatever makes you happy. But yep, we've got here go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. Again, that's buyraycon.com/15% or /THPN to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com/THPN. Grumpy old man.
Nice. I like it. I learned some things about Raycon I did not know before.
There it is. That's why you got to do Raycon, Grumpy. But give me 1 second here. I'm pulling everything through. We're going to start going through some ads, Grumpy. We're going to get through some ads here today.
I'm
sorry. We were going to get through some comments. Ads, comments. We're going to be doing some more reading. Our favorite hobby here on this show, Grumpy. Let's start popping up here some comments. We got here from Rick Roma, Grump.
Grumpy is binge watching MASH. Podcast will start in 90 minutes. Okay, first of all, everyone knows it's TJ is the reason why. Now, we did have a little birthday soiree for the warden today.
Really?
Where son X came over, his girlfriend, dog Z, and my nephew all came over. Wish the warden a happy birthday today. But TJ, of course, notifies me 15, 20 minutes late. Hey, just sent you the thing. So I'm like, okay. And then we got right on.
Okay. I'm not the reason, Grumpy. We're running.
It's always, TJ's always the reason we're running late. Always. Always.
When you're watching Ted Lasso, I'm not the reason, Grumpy.
Always. TJ's always the reason.
How often, Grumpy?
Every single time.
Oh, damn, Grumpy.
When we do the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I guarantee it won't be 8:30 till we get on. I don't care what TJ says. That will be the time that we actually start, because that's what he does.
You really think so?
Do I think so? Everyone who listens to us knows so. Doesn't think so, they know so. Here's the thing. Your New Year's resolution took you a little bit longer, is out the window now. It took till May. But because, I mean, when you started the year, you were on time for most of all the shows. Stunningly so to all the listeners and myself. But the last couple of weeks, we've just kind of fallen back into our old habits.
Oh, Grumpy. Okay.
Next comment.
You're not wrong. Okay. Next comment here, Grumpy, from Rick Roma also.
Anyone hear that Lou is after Dubois from Winnipeg? Guy is a year away from UFA and has said he's signing with Montreal. Lou's about to give away some more number ones. Okay. I think Pierre, I don't know how he did this year, but I always liked him when he was in Columbus. I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is a pretty good player. But once again, what would you give up that Winnipeg couldn't get more from somebody else for a young player like that? And particularly, why would you trade from somebody who's saying he's going to be signing with Montreal? And I can believe if he says he wants to sign in Montreal. He's French Canadian.
Sure.
It's a good market for him. He can grow with the young core they have there. You know what? I could understand that if he wants to do that.
Sure.
Why would you go after someone like that?
Another thing, too, is we just don't have enough.
You're right.
Yeah.
Any team could offer them more than you could.
Target good. Anthony Rizzi said, still no end of season press conference. This organization is a joke.
That's the way most people think. They don't think, it'll cool off. No.
I'm saying it's still a joke. I'm not saying it's not a joke. I'm just saying that I think it's ridiculous. Oh, we're just trying to, I think they're just trying to wait and hope that people just kind of like, they just kind of let it, the people kind of like, okay, it kind of eases off. They kind of forget about it a little bit. They kind of let things chill off a little bit. That's what I think they're trying to do, but maybe no.
I don't think so.
Okay, Grumpy. Got an additional comment here, Grumpy, from Rick Roma.
Who knows what's true? I'm pretty sure you're going to hear every Jets player in trade rumors over the summer, meaning Winnipeg Jets.
Yep. Yeah. And got another comment here from Anthony Rizzi, Grump.
I don't like Dubois, sorry. But at this point, if it means Lou is out, I'm for it. Just so tired of this old fool. He's going to go. How about Pittsburgh? They have an open spot, right? Why would he not go to Pittsburgh?
I don't think he's going anywhere.
Well, he's not going back to Toronto.
Well, he said originally it was Toronto or nowhere, I believe, for him when he was addressing that.
But Toronto said that we're not bringing you back. So
I think he's going to take a year off.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Really? Okay.
Maybe the Islanders bring him in as who knows? Maybe that's why they haven't said anything. They didn't realize he was going to be available. They bring him in. They kick the old man upstairs. Who knows? That's what I'm saying. Not saying anything. Just what's your plan? What's your plan?
It'd be nice to know, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to know what the plan is for this.
You have a plan. Is your plan that you have no plan? I don't know.
I think it could be that maybe it's a mixture of everything. Maybe we're gonna have to find out sooner or later. It's just the longer it goes on, the more comical the entire situation is, though. Greg K. Grumpy.
The organization is full of cowards. It's like they don't realize their paycheck is built on fans' participation and satisfaction. Exactly. Nail on the head. You have to talk to the people.
I agree with you.
You can't just ignore them and expect them to be loyal or care. Because guess what? Let's say you're a guy who's on the fence about season tickets.
Sure.
Well, shit. We don't know what's going on in the organization. So nobody said anything. Are you going to re-up? I'm not.
Yeah.
That's where their money comes from, is ticket sales. It's not like other sports where it's TV deals. It's ticket sales. Tough to sell tickets when the organization tells you nothing. Tough. When does the new stadium appeal wear off?
The new arena? Yeah, soon. I got to figure that's soon, right?
This year? Anyone who's really wanted to see him,
maybe one more year, maybe one more year.
Anyone who's really wants to go see him has already gone.
I was about to say they've already been there. Yep, trust me, I don't. Yeah. So they've already been there, and for those who are kind of slowly making their way there, yeah, the going to the brand spanking new arena was not a selling point for them to travel there, to be there, you name it. Got a comment here from Anthony Rizzi Grump.
I seriously wish the fans, especially the season ticket holders, would start calling out management and Lamoriello, start a boycott. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That you really want to affect change, stop going to games.
And what's up, Harry and Scott? How are you? Frank K's got a comment there, Grumpy.
Still waiting to hear from anyone related to the organization. Total joke. Some Islanders fans think Dubas is coming here. LOL. He's probably going to Pittsburgh. It's another Pittsburgh, potentially.
The Pittsburgh thought process there. Okay. Maybe I don't know if he seemed like in that postseason interview that he
How old is he? How old is he? 39? Do you think he's sitting
37.
out a year? 37.
37.
He's not sitting out a year.
He's got to get mentally prepped.
He's not sitting out a year. He's going whoever offers him a job. And he'll have people who will pick him up without a doubt. Say what you will about Toronto. I bet if you look at their record over the last 5 years, better than the Islanders.
Well, hey, we've had more not over the last.
Okay,
if the Islanders, years, we've had more postseason success.
If the Islanders played in the Atlantic Division, how many times do you think we got out of the first round of the playoffs?
We would have been beaten by Tampa every single
year. So the answer would be 0. We benefited playing against a weak-ass Metro Division with no goalies for those other teams, or injuries to other teams' goaltenders. That's how we advanced. Not from anything we did special, injuries to other teams. This year we had a team that was really injured too. Couldn't get past them with their backup goalie. Couldn't get past them.
There it is. Got another comment here from Scott L. Grumpy.
We'll hear from Sleeping Beauty Lou after someone wakes him up from his usual summer nap a day before training camp starts.
How long, realistically, when do you think we hear from them?
Got to be by the draft, no?
You think it's going to be that long until we'll hear from them?
Well, I don't think you go any further than that. The fact that they haven't done it it's mind-boggling, honestly. Everyone knows he was out of contract. You don't say he's been re-upped. You don't say, no press conference, nothing. What do you need to do to make the team better? Malkin, Ledecky, whoever. What are you going to do?
Mum's the word. Yeah, it's an odd one. It's an odd one, that's for certain, that we still have not heard anything. And what's up there, Harry? How are you? Andre M. Grumpy.
What if the Islanders are waiting for Dubas? Don't ever recall this lengthy silence from management or ownership. Exactly.
I originally thought... Oh, go ahead, Grump.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was about to say, I originally thought maybe that was the case until we had that Andrew Ghost came out and said, hey, we're expecting them to be both back. It kind of changed my tenor in the thought process of what they were looking to do this offseason.
No progress. Just stay the same. Stay the losing course. That's all it says to me.
Stay the losing course.
You can't say it's stay the winning course, right? I've never won anything. Never won anything. So it's staying a losing course. Just being a mediocre team, middle of the pack team. Hey, we're one of the better teams in the suck squad. Woo!
And what's up, Michael? How are you doing? Anthony Rizzi, Grumpy.
Draft's in a little bit more than a month. Do you think maybe Lou and or management will talk to the media or fans before? Yeah, I mean,
you think it's going to be right before, or you think there's going to be? I mean, like, I think
all it's doing is pissing off the fan base. It's not making them happy. It's not calming them down. It's not like you're going away. No, they're like, why haven't we heard anything? It just pisses them off. Doesn't make them happy. The longer you go, the more pissed off they get. The more people think you just don't give a shit. That's what it is. It's not, oh, well, if we stay long enough, people will forget that we were in good last year. No. That's not what people are sports fans for. Why does our team suck? How is it going to get better? Or if your team really sucks, hey, who are we going to pick in the draft? Let me tell you something. Now, they're really bad for a long time. That's all I cared about. Hey, in December, I'm like, okay, let's look at who we're going to draft. Because that was it. Your team was never going to win. You're looking at the draft. It's really not that far from that now.
Yeah.
We're not that bad, but
we're headed to that same exact path, though.
We're just as close to being like that as we are to being a real contender for a Stanley Cup.
Sure.
Like I said, we're stuck in the middle of mediocrity.
It's the worst spot to be as a professional team. Absolute worst spot to be. Stuck in no man's land.
The fact that we keep spending ridiculous sums of money on guys who are just not that good. You can't give $7 million a year to an Anders Lee or $8.5 million to Bo Horvat. Their talent doesn't deserve that type of salary. You can pay your Matthews, your Tavares, your Marners, your McMichaels, your McKinnons. You can pay, or your McCarrs. You can pay those guys that type of money because they're top of the line players. They're stars. They're phenomenal talents. We got one guy on the whole. I don't even count the goalie. Goalies are different. One skater who's worth that type of salary. One, Matt Barzal. We did sign him back. Everybody else, all that money we give to guys who are below him, they're not that good. Brock Nelson's turned out okay for his $6 million a year contract, right? I mean, yeah, that's a win. Every other long-term signing has been a loss. Every single one. $5 million for Pajot, $5 million for Palmieri, $7 million for Lee, $5.5 million for Eberle. They're not worth that money. They never were. You let them go.
Grumpy, can you read this comment we got here?
Well, Sparky the Dragon and the Islanders planted some flowers on something.
The Hempstead Turnpike, Grumpy.
Oh,
looky there, Grump. They were planting flowers, Grumpy.
Maybe we'll bring out
that portion of the offseason.
Well, there you go. There we are. We're already there. Where's Coco the service dog? Sparky's out there planting flowers. You know your team's a freaking loser when that's what you talk about. I'm sorry. And for the young fans, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. For anyone who thinks that this team is good enough to compete for a Stanley Cup, they're not. Yes, they're better than being a total dumpster fire.
Which we were under, snow for a while. Sure.
But still.
That should not be the bar that we compare ourselves to. We shouldn't say, well, we were complete and utter shit before in the past. And, well, hey, we're better than utter shit now, so we should be happy where we are. It's just that, you're right. It's that fucking loser mentality.
It's because fans have been used to losing for so long, so anything above losing is a success. It's not. It's not. It's not. I can't impress that upon you enough. Being a middling team is not a success. It just isn't.
Yep.
Would you say Toronto's a success?
No. I'd
If
say based off of what the expectations for Toronto going into the season, what they've done year after
I'm
year.
just saying,
This season was not successful for
I'm
Toronto.
saying as an organization the last 5 years, would you say Toronto's been a success? Because their regular season is really good.
The regular season is great, but the postseason is where, we're continuing. The
If
postseason is where
if they played the Metro, how many Eastern Conference Finals do you think they get to? Couple. I'll bet you a couple.
Sure.
They played Tampa. They played Tampa all those years. Or Boston. People forget Boston was in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals for how many years in recent history, this year notwithstanding. It's what the best teams have been. The best teams in the league have been coming out of, for the most part, out of the Atlantic. I mean, I would not say that Toronto's a success, and if anyone on this fan base thinks that, well, no, Toronto's not a success, they've been better than the Islanders have been over the last 5-6 years. Absolutely, they have been. They've won more games, more points. They don't have the playoff wins. Well, you know what? They're playing much better teams than we played.
I do agree. They've played much tougher teams, much tougher opponents than us, and it's still.
But I agree. Toronto has not been a success with their talent. This is the first year they got over the hump, right? And then they go back to being pumpkins after beating Tampa.
As always.
But then, hey, who knows? Maybe this is Florida's year, right? I think Florida, you could say Florida took a different path than the Islanders, right? They were really freaking bad for a long time. And they said, you know what? We had a group that was pretty solid last year. We won the President's Trophy. And you know what? The group wasn't good enough to get out of what? Did they? I don't know if they played Tampa in the first round. No, it had to be the second round of the playoffs. And they lose to Tampa in the second round of the playoffs, right? And you know what they said? You know what? Even though we won the President's Trophy, we made it to the second round of the playoffs.
With an interim head coach.
With an interim head coach, this team is not good enough to get over the top as it's currently constituted. They moved Jonathan Huberdeau, 100-point scorer, Mackenzie Weegar.
Sure. Yeah.
They moved guys off their team to bring in something they thought they needed. And I'll tell you what, that's a team that's not afraid to make a move. That's why I use them as an example of an assistant GM to come in who realizes, you know what? This team, even as good as we were, not good enough to contend for a Stanley Cup. So they come out and make that move for Tkachuk, and look what happens. And it took them all year until they finally caught fire at the end, the goaltender playing like he should. And they've been phenomenal. And I've really been pleased with how they played defensively as well. That's not something you've seen from them all year. But now you're seeing everything kind of click for them at the right time.
Yeah.
You think if the Islanders had that roster in Florida, they would have made that move? Absolutely freaking not.
No.
Lamoriello would just live off.
Most general managers wouldn't.
Well, that's why I'm saying you have to make sure that you have to know if your team is good enough. And here's the thing. Lamoriello knows his team isn't good enough. You know how he knows? Keeps on pissing away draft picks and young players to try to get an immediate fix. That shit never works. It never works. He killed the Devils, killed them. He was on his way to killing Toronto till they said, old man, get your ass upstairs. You're not going to kill this franchise.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Hold on a second. We've got a few memes. I'll let you read that next comment there, Grumpy. I popped up on screen.
All the Islander fans are charging their phones and watches too. Oh, all the Islander players. That's right. Yeah, well, that's what's right.
Hey, they're the off season. Here you go, Grumpy.
Michael. Hey, Grumpy. Did you watch the high-skill Chatfield goal? I did not.
He says, pinball hockey. JP, so in other words, no news is old news. Yep. Mikey D, Grumpy.
What do you think? What do you guys think the Metro standings will look like next season? What's this meme here? Hold on.
Let me hide this. Let's hide this real quick. I'll hide this. We'll put this up for Mikey D. I'm sorry. I won't distract.
Carolina, Jersey, Rangers, Pittsburgh, Washington, Islanders. That's what I think. I think the Islanders are going to come in 6th. maybe fifth. Maybe Pittsburgh's going to be better. Pittsburgh will be better, without a doubt. Pittsburgh will be better. They're going to get another goalie.
I do think that Pittsburgh will take a step forward. I don't think Pittsburgh's just going to lie over and say, oh, okay, well, we're done. That's not
And
what they are.
maybe we beat out Washington. It depends on what Washington does in the offseason.
Sure.
But they just say, you know what? We're full rebuild. I can't see them being full rebuild. But they have guys that they have players on their team that other teams would want to trade for. Like John Carlson, 32 years old defenseman. I mean,
John Carlson's one of those guys too. If he continues to play at that level, he'll be in borderline Hall of Fame caliber player talks.
Well, I'm just saying that John Carlson's a really good player.
Sure.
And he has trade value. If some team wanted him, he has trade value. I mean, you look at other guys, Tom Wilson, you could realistically move him if you were in full tank mode. I don't know if they'll ever do that with Ovechkin. But you know what? They weren't afraid to say we weren't good enough. We know we're not good enough going forward. So let's start accruing young assets. That's what the Islanders should have done in this regular season. We weren't good enough to win anything. You know how you know? They lost in the first round to a team who was really decimated by injury. Front end and the goaltender position.
Yep.
Whoever
believes this is delirious. Oh, I'm sorry. Mikey D. Did you finish the rest of yours? Before we got off topic, I do think Carolina finished ahead of us. I think that Pittsburgh and probably Washington are more serious. I think that the Flyers are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
So is Columbus next year still. They're going to be at the bottom of the barrel. We're also going to be in a spot to where I don't anticipate the Devils to finish second like they did this year. I expect the Devils to take a little bit of a step back, have a little bit of a quintessential sophomore slump. I expect it. Not significant, but I expect them to take a little bit of a step back.
They'll be better than the Islanders.
Sure, I do believe that too. I expect the Rangers to still be very competitive too. We're in a competitive division. We are, and it's a really competitive conference. So, But let's look at this here, Grumpy. It says TJ and Grumpy after another offseason where Lou does jack shit and trades away more draft capital.
I can't believe it! Fuck! What the fuck?
You like how he's got a nice little Blackhawks jersey on too, so it's even hockey related, Grumpy.
That's actually a cool shirt.
I like that shirt too.
I kind of like that shirt. That's a shirt. I would actually get a shirt like that.
That's kind of the way we feel.
Why wouldn't the NHL market stuff like that? Something a little bit crazy based on the original logo design. I mean, you want to sell shit to kids? Do that. I'd buy it.
Scott L. Grumpy, look at this.
Saw a trade proposal on Twitter. Islanders spending Pajot and Dobson Toronto for Marner. Why would Toronto do that?
Yes.
Okay. Again.
Why would they do that?
Why would Toronto do that?
We're at the spot though where it's like, hey, we can get better by doing. This is going to help, and that could possibly result in something. It's just I'm like, no, please, no. It's not even in the realm of possibility that they would do anything like that. Toronto is not going to give up Marner, and they're not going to give up Lindgren for Noah Dobson and Jean-Gabriel Pajot. Bobrovsky is outplaying Sorokin. Crazy. Okay. Bobrovsky's just hot.
Okay, here's the thing. He's been really good in this playoff series. He was really good in the last playoff series. Give him credit.
Sure.
Sorokin's the only reason the Islanders even made the playoffs.
And guess what? At the end of 2 periods, the Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers game is tied. Think about that. I'm telling you one thing. Doesn't this have the feel to Florida finds a way to win and they sweep Carolina? If you lose both games at home, Carolina's done. They'll get swept. They will be swept.
I'm not saying they'll get swept. But you're seeing why right now a team that is a better team that has a little bit of grit to their game, Devils don't have that.
Sure.
But is talented, which for certain Florida is, and a good goaltender. You're seeing them really, they miss Svechnikov and Pacioretty here. You're seeing the loss really. This is what affects it. It didn't affect against our team. Weren't good enough to expose them like that. I mean, Carolina's in these games. Carolina is really, really good. Guess what? So's Florida. People forget, Florida, they're the 8th seed. Yeah, but they were President's Trophy winners the year before.
Yep.
So it's not like they sucked. And they did a massive reshuffling, a culture change in 1 year. 1 year. It took them almost a full season till like the last couple of weeks of the season, full culture change with Kachuk coming in. Maybe they just knew a lot of those guys been there a long, long time in Florida. Their own little cul-de-sac crew that they got down there in Florida. They got the beach umbrellas up. Everybody's hanging out on the edge of the golf course where they all live, the golf course country club. Kachuk comes in and says, no more. You need to be a little bit tougher down here. That was always a problem with Florida players, though. I remember someone telling me that, it's so nice down there. It's just, you walk out the door and it's just so nice. You're not thinking about hockey all the time.
Yep. And I tell you, it's sometimes you need a little bit of an asshole to come there and to stir shit up. You need a little bit of a guy sometimes to do that. It's a sad and unfortunate truth to it.
If we wanted to trade for Kachuk, what would we have to give up? I don't think there's anything we could muster that Florida would take. See, that's the problem with the team. That's the problem moving forward. Like that last possible trade, Marner and Lindgren for Pajot and Dobson. Maybe Barzell, Dobson, and a first-round pick for Lindgren and Marner. Maybe that could get it done. I mean, no, that trade. Why would Toronto make that trade? Doesn't make them better.
No. They need other things. They need heart, right? Toronto's a team that needs heart. They don't have heart. That's that simple. If we survive the first round, we go to the cup, says Craig. No, I think he should turn around. Scott saw my meme tweet. Oh, no. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. Okay, gotcha. That was Michael just memeing around. Okay. I was about to say, I'm like, there's no way that could be serious, that's a trade. It was a response to Barzal and Pulak for Marner and Lindgren. Oh, God. This is where it's like, hey, we're at the end of the year. Hey, let's trade. Everybody wants to say we're always linked with Toronto to make some sort of trade. Oh, we're going to make a trade with Toronto. We're going to do this. It's going to be a crazy trade. We don't acquire any big pieces in trade. I mean, Horvat was one, but he looks more and more like a guy who's just a second line guy.
When's Marner's contract expire? Because I guarantee he's not resigning here. I mean, that makes no sense. Neither one of these make any sense. How does that make Toronto?
Marner he's got after this year, he's got 2 years, next year and the year after.
Why would you move Marner? You move the guy who's going to be UFA next year. It's either Matthews or Nylander. It's not going to be Matthews. I guarantee you he's going to re-sign back. I could see Nylander being moved.
Matthews said he wants to stay there too.
Who's Matthew? Right. Matthew says he wants to stay there. We've heard that before. But
maybe Matthews wants to leave. Maybe Matthews and Marner both say they want to stay there.
Well, you can do a contract extension. I believe July 1st. You can start doing a contract extension for his next contract this offseason since they're UFA at the end of the year. Nylander's a guy who could get moved. I'd love to have Nylander here. Love it. What could you give Toronto that some other team couldn't offer way more to get Nylander? See, that's the thing that let's get him in. Yeah, okay. Put the shoe on the other foot. If you're Toronto and you're moving William Nylander, who's an 85-point scorer,
sure.
What do you want in return? What do you want in return?
They're going to want something significant.
You think they want Bo Horvat and his contract? No, because they're trying to shed money so they can sign Matthews back. That's why they'd be getting rid of Nylander. So they're not going to take a Bo Horvat back or a Matt Barzal. So what else do you have? Brock Nelson, he still makes $6 million a year. I could see Brock Nelson being a fit there. I don't know where, but
it's okay.
It's just unrealistic. It's just unrealistic.
The more and more we talk about these trade scenarios, the more and more it's just like, yikes.
We're doing nothing.
I can't tell you how many times I get optimistic that something positive is going to come from those, and we just are let down. I really am tired of the letdowns. It's more what it is than anything else. The Wickerman says, are the Panthers going to win the cup? No, I still think it's I think Dallas Stars are the team that's going to win the cup. I think they're the favorite.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I don't think the playoffs have been real good this year.
I don't either.
But for me, watching the games, they're fun to watch because I don't have a team in the fight. There's no teams that I hate. I didn't want Edmonton to win. I knew they'd shit the bed. Who was saying that Edmonton was going to win the whole thing? Who was that?
JP.
JP. Wrong again, JP.
Oh,
Wrong
come on.
again.
Edmonton look good. Come on now, Grumpy.
Edmonton sucks. They're good on the power play. Best power play. 5-on-5, shorthanded. Any other time, they're just not good enough. Another team, they could use a heart transplant as well. Let's be honest. They have super talented guys. If they could chuck on that team, they'd never freaking lose. Never lose. But they're another team afraid to trade guys to get something they need. They have so much offensive talent. They could move some of that to get what they need, but they don't do it year after year. Forget Edmonton. But here it is. I don't care who wins between Carolina and Florida. I don't care who wins between Dallas and Vegas. I don't care.
And Lou R says, Gudas has been an animal, and that's exactly what the Florida Panthers needed. Harry S. said, whomever believed this Islanders would win the cup needs your analysis.
Yeah, I'd say they need
they're on drugs. Gotcha, they're on drugs. Gotcha.
I think they need a prefrontal lobotomy. Just cut the freaking brain out because it ain't working. And he thought that Gudas would be what we need on our team. Well, isn't that what Romanoff is supposed to be? That's his big thing, right? That's Romanoff's. It's the physicality. I don't think he's as good as Gudas. Not yet. He's 23. He gets a full another year for me. He should be playing with Pulak, though. Period. End of sentence, end of story. Don't put him with Dobson. It's a bad mix. It's a bad mix because he's so positionally unsound, and Dobson he's a puck mover. He needs to be with Pelech, even though Pelech is slow and old and not as good as he used to be. Still, it's the best matchup. Still, it's the best groupings we can put together.
Continuing along here, Grumpy. Gudas would have been a massive mistake. Anthony Rizzi said, not that it matters. Did we hear anything about the cap for next season? The word is that most part it's going up $1 million, but I read somewhere today that it was supposed to be maybe 3 to 4. So next year the cap's supposed to have a very, very I think it's a $1 million increase. And the year after that is when we're supposed to start having significant increases for the for cap implications.
Yes, that's correct. Looking next year, it's supposed to be 83.5, then 87.5, then 92. So in 3 years, it's going to be going up 10 million from this year. That's okay. If you let the old man in charge, he'll piss that away by giving contract extensions to JG Pajot for another 5 years, 6 million. Palmieri, hey, let's just whatever. Anders Lee, you're up. Yeah, let's give you another extension. Brock Nelson, 33 years old. You know what, Brock, you've been a good soldier. Yeah, let's give you a 5-year, let's give you a 4-year, $7 million extension. You can't do that shit. Brock Nelson should never play for the Islanders ever after next year. Ever. Should be moved. Damn. By the time we're good again, he won't be. Those are guys you move. Move them on. Move along.
It's not the droid you're looking for.
That's right.
Somewhere, not someone. Sorry, no worries. And Toronto is back to rebuilding, says Drew. No, see, that's a team that doesn't have to go through a rebuild. They've got a lot of really, really strong young pieces that are in their prime. I wish we could say the same. Just so your audience knows, after Joe Quenneville found out about the sexual assault, he wrote a letter of recommendation for Brad Aldrich. Big difference between coach and a player regarding my opinion for when they try to let him in. Yeah, I think that it's still like they look at the person. Can they create revenue for the team and for the organization? And if they can, even if somebody could do things. Henry Ruggs, I promise you, if he could be playing football, if he still has the ability to play football, he will be on an NFL team come 5 years from now when that prison sentence is over. But sad but true, Dan says here. Ben Raplesberger, oh God, JP Grumpy.
Belichick and the Pats would have gotten Aaron Hernandez back on the field. They could have. No. As soon as they found out, he was gone. Good as gone.
God almighty. I've totally forgotten about the Aaron Hernandez stuff. Jesus.
That really hurt them. That really hurt the Patriots too. Really did.
I'm sure it did.
Him and Gronkowski were great together. Holy shit.
Oh my God. I'm sure it did, Grumpy. And Goon Grump.
Is it safe to say that the same shortcomings that plagued the Islanders during the regular season came back to bite them and that took us in the playoffs? We just weren't good enough. I don't know if that's a shortcoming, not being good enough. But if that's the case, yeah. And guess what? It's going to bite them next year and the year after and the year after that. We were set up to be cooking with gas in 2 years. A year ago, I said, you know what? Everybody's going to be up after next year. You could really do your transition by just moving some of these guys, getting more draft picks, and everyone be ready to come up together. They went the opposite direction. Now you're going to see a long, painful, arduous rebuild. That's all you're going to see. You heard it here first. We've been telling you that for years. You could see it coming from 100 miles away. Sometimes you got to see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you get too close, you can't see it. Big picture guy. I'm a big picture guy.
Big picture guy, Grumpy is. JP said, the fact that they suck and they came back to bite them, Goon. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Alabrani said, I don't agree with you, TJ. Joe Paterno deservedly lost his legacy for being complacent.
Disagree.
Well, if you go and ask some of those people in that sort of area, you would be shocked how many of those Penn State fans are like, Joe, they love and adore him in Happy Valley. It's crazy. It's because the guy won football games. It's the same thing we talk about on another show. If you win and hey, I'm good at playing a child's game, people overlook and would overlook, just like the same thing that's going to happen with Henry Ruggs. It's the same thing that happens with Ben Roethlisberger, Kobe Bryant, all these superstar athletes. They overlook that type of stuff.
Joe Paterno did exactly what he was supposed to do. That's what he did. He reported it to his higher ups. That's what he did. He didn't go to the police. He's a football coach. He's a football coach. I can't. No. Sorry.
Yeah, happened so long ago. But Andrew L. Grumpy.
People keep forgetting how different things were years ago. Things were just different.
I don't even really remember enough about that, to be honest. It's happened so long ago. I can't even accurately
speak. Even the thing with Quinville. It's what, 12 years ago? 13 years ago? Times were different. They just were. I mean, you cannot hold people, you can't judge them by today's standards for things that happened years ago. You just can't, because times were different back then.
Let's move along there, Grumpy. Andrew L. Grump.
The sound of some crickets would be perfect right now.
Talking about what the Islanders have done this offseason. Take it away. Hello, what's up, Frank? How are you? Goon says, TJ and Grumpy, what would it take for you to forgive Lou Lamoriello? Him stepping away from the organization.
There you go. Quit.
Him stepping away from the organization, I could say great. He'll no longer cause harm to us, and everything he's done, that's good. We can look at, and we can also look at and take it with the bad. But JP, Grumpy.
I can remember being at Game 4 of the '85 Islanders Cap Series when they were down 4-2, and fans were upset and complaining about not getting out of the first round. They did after going to 5 finals in a row. Absolutely. Now it's like, hey, we make the playoffs and we get beat. That's a success. It's because your franchise is used to losing. You're used to being a loser. So you think that's a success. It's not. It's not.
That's what that's been in the past. So hey, that's kind of where our expectations are on a consistent basis.
But you could tell even back then when I was a fan, you knew after they lost to Edmonton and you watched how it went the next year, okay, you could tell the team wasn't going to make it. Because I mean, they just all those playoff games, all those years in a row, ground them down, and they were getting older. I mean, they waited sometimes a little bit too long to transition out of that group. Understandably, you can do that if your team's won 4 straight cups and been to 5 finals. But if you got a team that just made it into the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years, you've never won anything. What's the slavish devotion to guys who've never won anything? That just baffles me. Never won anything. Sorry.
Why the devotion for guys who have never won anything? It's a good point. Team, you have to be in this environment willing to change. You've got to be willing to make the necessary changes. Sometimes you got to be willing to take a step, what would be perceived as a step back, and a bold move to take really steps forward.
Washington did. Washington did this run. They figured, you know what? Maybe we could squeak into the playoffs. Maybe. But are we going to win anything? Nope. So their GM said, yeah, we're taking a step back. We know we're not good enough this year.
To give you, oh, go ahead, Groupie.
Who is the real Trotz in Islanders history, Brian or Barry? Depends on, well, if you're just going to say Trotz, it's Brian Trottier, of course. No Z, just an S.
To give you an update, how many people leaved with you versus me? Hey, are they trying to pacify the fan or dumbass TJ's point? I'm going to say putting dumbass TJ's point probably swayed the poll from what would have probably been a 50-50 shot to 80% Grumpy, 20% me.
Actually, what I think was you probably got 10% sympathy vote because like, oh man, the old guy's picking on TJ. I'm going to give him my vote just for that. It probably was like 100-0.
Oh, is that what it is? Huh, Grumpy?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll end the poll and we'll close that one off. I think the Islanders were waiting for Dubas. That's what I thought maybe until Gross came out with that article. That's the only thing that made me say probably not.
And they will definitely are getting him. They think we're definitely getting him. And I worried about that. What do you all think of him? He's better than Lamoriello. He's better than Lamoriello. At this stage, he's better than Lamoriello.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be an established GM who's going to come here. It's going to be a young guy who's going to say, you know what? We got to blow the whole thing up. We're going to have to do a full rebuild here. That's what you're going to see. Eventually, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a young guy who's going to be allowed to come in and rebuild the whole team. You're not going to see a veteran guy come in there and say, yeah, let's keep this group of ham and eggers together so we can just continue on the treadmill of mediocrity. You're not going to see that.
And let's move along here, Grumpy. Got JP saying, I think the current owners are showing their true colors. I hope not. Gungood said, why did the Star Wars hotel flounder so badly in Disney World? I know you probably want to talk about that, Grumpy. I think we were talking about that off the air.
It's a lot like the Islanders organization. You thought people were going to pay ridiculous sums of money for an inferior product where they lock you into, a big cement building for a couple of days. And then if you want to spend any more days at Disney World / watching the Islanders, you have to pay extra. Just not going to happen. That's what they thought. Maybe the new arena was going to do that for the Islanders. I don't know. I never see it full during regular season. A couple of games, I guess. But usually a lot of fans disguised as empty seats.
Well, talking about Disney World, did you not actually want to talk about that or no?
It was dumb. It was dumb. It's limited capacity. It's something where you had to create your own experience and pay like upwards of $6,000 for a room where it honestly looks like prison cells. That's what it looks like. And you don't see the outside at all. It's just all inside. And it's a lot of money. The food was like, I don't know.
For those who don't know, Grumpy's very picky when he eats.
Yeah, but even if you looked at the food, it was like, no. And it's just 2 days. Just 2 days. And then you're out. But the whole thing is you go on a trip, you don't want to have to build your own vacation. You're hoping somebody would do it, hey, this is what you're going to do so you get the most experience. It's almost like a game where you pick this. You have other people doing this, so you're kind of working with or against them. You know what? I don't live my life as a damn video game. I'm gonna tell you that much right now. No. Who couldn't tell that was gonna fail? It wasn't even open a year and it failed. They closed it down after a year. Think about how much of a disaster it had to be to close it down in a year. Think about the money they lost.
They're not even able to operate the item at a profit.
They're not even able to come close to breaking even. They're losing massive amounts of money. They had to give big discounts, like half price off. It tells you nobody wanted to do it.
Yep. So I said they weren't operating at a profit. And, if you're not going to operate at a profit, you're not going to be able to, number one, pay off the investment you had. And number two, you're not going to be able to be in the green any of these years. So they said, we're cutting ties after 1 year. Nick D said, not the fan base of the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, because we always remember. TJ and Grumpy, how are you doing tonight? Doing well, Nick. Hopefully you're doing well also. Gungood says, Grumpy, as a younger man, did you get away mostly on your looks or your personality, or perhaps a perfect blend of both?
A blend.
Oh, stop. JP.
But here's the thing. My personality is, I always said,
All right, you got a lot of
if you
confidence.
don't,
Don't
here's
let
the
it
thing.
start pumping
If
his
you
head up
don't,
there, JP or
if you don't get along with me, it's a you problem, not a me problem.
JP Grumpy.
I think the next GM is going to be scapegoated regardless of who it is, to be honest. They're such a mess. They're not going to even, if the ghost of Sam Pollock is a GM. Yeah, it's going to be a long, arduous process, without a doubt. And you're going to be starting worse than an expansion team. Worse than an expansion team. That's what it's going to be like, because you have no draft picks and no young talent.
Got a comment here from Harry. Says, wow, the Canes goal was disallowed. That's 2 goals in the first period. They had 2 disallowed goals in the first period, the Hurricanes.
No idea.
That's a way to go ahead and get yourself just. The BK Town kid said, did you guys see that Dubas is out? Would love to have him as an Islanders general manager.
Why would he want to come here?
I wouldn't be opposed to have him as an Islanders general manager. There's a lot of people I'm willing to take a chance on, just simply because I know our current GM is more harm than good right now.
Maybe they have to trade for a GM. It's the only one to get to keep one. You think?
Gungun Grumpy.
What are you dashing bastards' view on Nassau County reaching a lease agreement with the Las Vegas Sands that gives them control over the Nassau Coliseum site for a casino? Well, that's what happens, right? All of a sudden, you know what? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. That's what, it's always about the money. When somebody tells you it's not about the money, it's about the money. It's always about the money.
Yeah. I know we're sponsored by DraftKings, but I try to avoid gambling. It's just like there's no worse feeling there. It's like, oh, I'm gonna even put $10. I'm like, why the hell did I do that? Yep. Dubas says, and no, he says, Harry. Beautiful. What a wish for the BK.
Be careful what you wish for.
For Dubas, yeah.
Yes.
Dubis. I'm sorry, Dubis. Gungun says, Grumpy, what are your top Rush tunes?
Ooh. I like a lot of Rush tunes. I like some of their instrumentals things too. I cannot pronounce the song. It's been forever since I read it, but La Via Stradiago, that's Stradiago. I cannot remember the name. It's been forever since I listened to Rush, but yeah, I like Rush. They were good. 3-man band. Neil Peart, great drummer. Tom Sawyer was great, of course. That was probably their biggest tune, but yeah.
Fair enough. We're speaking in a different area of my expertise. Frank Grumpy.
I saw the YouTube video. Dubas didn't land any of the 4 core pieces. Expect to pay them, which has handcuffed the team, and his trades were bad. Lou bad.
I just think it's a heart and a culture problem on the team. That's the real issue for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And until you get somebody who can change and has a strong enough personality to take everybody in the right direction, it never gets fixed.
You have to have a GM who's not afraid to move a core piece to make the team better.
Sure. Yep.
That's what Bill Zito did in Florida. Not good enough. Move a core piece. Huberdeau is absolutely a core piece.
Miley Brownie saying, no, Frank. Dubas is crap. Crap is sketchy. Shanny was very detailed about how shady Dubas got at the end. The Islanders don't need that drama. I'm not up to date with all of the lore of Kyle Dubas, and it's not something that some, like, I'm sure there's stuff we haven't done enough research in looking into that, but
I don't think he's coming to the Islanders.
He's not coming to the New York Islanders.
I won't say,
if you're going to Vegas to bet, don't feel confident that he's going to the Islanders.
I won't definitively say that he's not coming, but I don't feel he's coming.
Say with a strong degree of confidence. I'm not for or against Dubas, but I wonder what the rationale for the folks who are anti-Dubas is. Dubas doesn't excite me, but I don't hate him either, says JP. Okay. Islanders ownership is ruining its credibility, says Andre M.
True.
JP says, TJ's right. Management and most teams don't worry about diehards. However, the casual fans are going to leave if they suck regardless. It'll just take them longer to figure it out.
Yep.
And let's see here. What's up, Johnny Mac? Johnny Mac, Grumpy. Andre M says, Grumpy, something is going on with the organizational changes. Otherwise, ownership has no credibility.
Maybe they just have no credibility.
Yep.
The longer it goes on, the worse it looks.
Yep.
Period. Doesn't get better, gets worse.
JP says that's not true. Dubas has not done a terrible job. Drew says, or maybe Ledecky and Malkin are just too shy to speak to the media, so that Andrew Gross can make the PR announcements instead for him.
I don't think that's the case.
The BK Italian kid said, would love to hear guys' thoughts on Arizona. I'd love to see them go to Salt Lake. Salt Lake City, I would be down for that. That could be cool in Utah to have a team like that.
What? What makes you think that hockey's gonna go in Utah, Salt Lake City?
The Utah Jazz, Grumpy. You don't think they maybe can also support a hockey team?
Okay, what's a bigger market? They want to go to big markets. They don't want to go to small markets.
I think you can have a devout fan base there in Utah.
Okay.
It's better than going to a big market like freaking Atlanta and failing for
Houston. What about Houston?
Houston?
Houston's a big market.
More teams in Texas. I think they're going to eventually add it. It's just hugely populated area, and you could tell when the team wins. Look at how excited the Dallas Stars fans are. You know, they're going to have a fan base there. But it's like, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it being out there in Utah. I'd be down for that. I'd be down, BK Italian kid. I'd be down for Salt Lake. Okay. Johnny Max is halfway done through the playoff pool round 2. I'll email the results in the standings tomorrow. I had so many guys out, Johnny Mac, earlier. I was like, shit, I'm done.
I just hope you come in last. As long as I beat you out, that's all that really matters.
Andre M. Grumpy.
Kevin Kurtz was saying the Islanders PR has always granted writers access to Lou when they requested it. Something is going on.
I'm sorry. I reread that one earlier. JP said, Frank, I watched the NHL. Dubas is not great, but he has been terrible. He tried to get sandpaper towards the end of his run. Was he good enough? No. He got eliminated. Yep. I agree with Grumpy Old Man, says Harry. And better than Lou, though, JP says regarding Dubas. Andre M says, Andrew Gross could be right and that Lou is getting a new deal, but maybe it's for president only. He said it was for like general manager, I think is what they said. They expect him to be back, and then same thing with Lane Lambert. But maybe they want another guy. They're waiting to be the general manager. I would be okay if Lou took a step into president of hockey operations, but do you really think Lou Lamoriello?
I don't even want him there anymore.
Do you really think Lou Lamoriello would say, I'm going to voluntarily sign a new contract where I'm going to have no control over the day-to-day?
I don't think so.
He won't do that at the age of 80-something years old. I don't see him doing that. Because remember how upset he was in Toronto when they kicked his ass upstairs and they said, hey, you're no longer going to have any touch over the hockey operations. Dubas is. He was not thrilled about that. I don't think he'd be thrilled about the same position for the Islanders, but maybe he will be okay with it.
Shanahan knew, though, right? Shanahan said, the old man's just going to fuck it up, give it to somebody else. Ooh. Johnny Mac says, I take all 5 possible Dumas replacements over Lou today.
I have a list. Hold on a second. He sent me a list.
Good. I'm interested in the list. Ponyboy Curtis, hey, Ponyboy, says, Lou and his Lamanites pulling the wool over our eyes. Well, he's not pulling the wool over my eye. So even if I wink, he's not pulling over my one eye or this one either.
I like the Lamanites.
The Lamanites. Lou and the Lamanites. Does that sound like something Arnold Schwarzenegger saying? Lou and the Lamanites.
There it is. Continuing along here, Grumpy.
Where's the list? I'm going to wait for the list.
On my phone. I'm not going to be able to pull it up here. I'm just going to read it to you over the phone. All right?
That's
Keep
fine.
reading, please.
Frank says, yeah, Dubas wouldn't have gotten rid of Taves or kept Liddy or keeping Mayfield or Varley at that line, only to lose them. Yeah, that's true. No GM does that. Only a GM that just can't hack it anymore, or a GM just, was operating the old days where there's really no free agency and they have to come back. And that's Lou Lamoriello.
Okay. I've got
his little henchman, Fredo.
Here you go, Grumpy. Here's a list.
Where is it? I don't see it. Here we go. That's the guy from Calgary.
Brad Treliving.
He got blown out after 1 year. Boy, they didn't make the playoffs. Gone. Pridman, where's he? Who's he
Brandon
with?
Pridman.
Oh, he's with them already, right?
The Leafs interim GM.
Okay. Eric Twisky. Gosh, I can't see it so small. He's from, where's he from?
Or Taliski, Grumpy.
I don't like his hair.
He was a finalist for the job there in Chicago. Was a finalist there. Was in the running for the Pittsburgh job. He was an assistant GM for Carolina.
He'd be a guy I'd want. Absolutely, that's a guy I'd want. Bergevin, I don't know.
The Canadians.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather go for the guy from Carolina.
I'm down for Tulski, I'm sorry.
And here's the kid who used to be with Arizona, who left under some type of
Chiaka.
Yeah, he left under some type of.
I've liked what they've done.
He's a real analytics guy.
I like that I mean, you look at what he did to acquire draft picks. He did a hell of a job. Jason Botterill.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't any of those guys. I think that here's the thing: they're going to be better jobs than the Islanders that they're going to get offered. I'd love the guy that's the guy I want.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Eric Tulski. I'm down.
Yep.
JP Grumpy.
Lou really benefited from the COVID tournaments. Absolutely. If there were none, I think he'd already looked as an abject failure 2+ years ago. Yes, I agree.
And Craig K says here, why doesn't everyone else from other teams get fired as soon as why does everyone else from other teams get fired when they get bounced in the first round?
Because those organizations are serious about winning.
And they also have the expectations when you don't hit them. Sorry, man, you could give me any sort of song and sad story you want. See you later.
Yep. Gone.
You could be missing John Carlson for the majority of the season. You could be missing you could be missing you could be missing TJ Oshie at times. You could be missing guys like Nick Backstrom and Tom Wilson for the first half of the season. Well, the fact that you didn't make the postseason this year, hey, we're gonna mutually agree to ways.
And we mailed it in and said that we're giving up on the season. You still get fired. Right?
Yeah. So it's a results-driven league.
Right. That's it's supposed to be a meritocracy.
That's why all these people get paid multiple millions of dollars, is because it's a results-driven league. And when you don't produce, that's why you can get fired at the snap of a finger. That's why they also get paid a freaking insane amount of money to sit there and make decisions based on playing a child sport.
Yep.
So that's what Ari45 says, even Jay-Z has problems. 99 of them, Grumpy. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one, Grumpy.
I don't even know what that means.
God almighty. Grump!
It sounds like it's a song.
It's a song, yeah. Harry Schultz says, Islanders front office is inept. What's up, Alexander? We saw the baby looks as cute as ever, Alexander, but what's up, my friend? Mikey D, Grumpy.
Devils and the Rangers really didn't address their fan base, but at least they announced what their direction is going to be regarding coaching. Lou's got to say something. Absolutely.
They had general manager come out and speak. That's more by addressing the fan base, we mean just come out and speaking. BK Italian Kid says 5 weeks until the NFL draft. Too late for Lou to be fired.
Not true. Not true.
They didn't remember this ownership group fired Garth Snow and hired Lou with less time compared to, I mean, they hired him 4 days before the draft, I think. 4 or 5 days before the draft.
Yep.
JP Grumpy.
That's right. So it's never too late.
Mm-hmm. JP Grump. Nope. Maybe Grumpy got disconnected. Or I'm having some internet issues. One of us are having internet issues. Grumpy, can you see us?
Yes, I see you.
JP Grumpy.
I'd like to see Matthew Darcy as GM of the Islanders. But as I said, regarding the Islanders, of who the Islanders get, the current state of affairs is so messy, he'd be scapegoated. Yeah, I think it has to be somebody who's going to come in, a younger GM with a clear vision for transitioning the team. That's who's going to get the next job.
Yep.
It's not going to be somebody who's going to say, hey, we can take this group and turn them into winners. Because it's not happening. Sorry. So they're going to have somebody, a younger guy, come and say, this is what I want to do. This is what the goal is going to be. Lay it out, and that's how you get that job. And it'll be an assistant GM. It won't be somebody who's already a GM in the league, I don't think. Grumpy, you mentioned Dubas. Shanahan didn't want Dubas to talk to the media until his situation was sorted out. Dubas said no, and he was going to talk to the media. Well, maybe that's why he's gone.
Grumpy, we've got a comment, and I'll be honest with you. I read this comment, and I think they've put a dagger in the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to recover from this. I think we're gonna, after the show, we're gonna have to talk about maybe
Just put the comment up.
Grumpy. Rangers suck, and I-69 myself says, how can you honestly think that anybody should listen to you two buffoons when neither of you guys have been to a game in a year? Hashtag or fake fans. Well, Rangers suck. We have gone to a game, just not at UBS Arena. Oh, I love that though. It's you haven't gone to see a game
let me
live
just say
at
something.
UBS Arena. That
You-
you guys aren't real fans. You haven't traveled to UBS Arena to see.
Now that's a Rangers fan.
No. He says Rangers suck. So he's just a troll.
Hey, listen to me, jackass. Hear me out, okay? 41 followers that you have, okay?
No, he's 0 followers. He's just a troll.
Zero followers. Here's the thing. Guess what? We watch every single game on TV. You don't have to go to a stadium to be someone who can talk. Matter of fact, you get more information out of me than you are while you're sitting in the stands eating popcorn, drinking beer, whatever the shit you're doing, eating hot dogs, spending who knows how long in the damn bathroom. I watch all the games, every single game, and I go back and I rewind and I watch and I identify the failures of the team. What do you do?
I put it up because I just laughed. I'm like, no, we've gone to games, just not at UBS Arena. Just to make that clear, we've been
not necessarily only Islander games. Guess what? We're real hockey fans.
We've been to other teams' games too. So we caught Islander games. We went to one this year. You know, do we go to the UBS Arena? No, we're not traveling to New York to go see them until they give me a reason to travel to New York to see them play. I'm not doing it. So
I'm not giving that team any money till they show a direction that they want to go, and that pleases me. Why that? Because I put my money where my damn mouth is. Not like you, shit for brains.
Grumpy. Andre, yeah, I'm grumpy. Did we read this one?
Grumpy. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let's see here. Pulak's interview yesterday. Don't expect big changes in the offseason. Oh, well, we're fucked, says Thomas Rudy. Oh,
we're not going to do anything. Nothing's going to happen. I'm telling you, if they sign Pierre Engvall back, there will be no moves in the offseason.
Andre said, yeah, Pulak wouldn't know. He would have nothing to say otherwise. It's irrelevant.
Why would he want change? His poor performance gets masked over. People still say, hey, Pulak was good 4 years ago, so, you know, he's part of the cul-de-sac crew. There's no accountability, no responsibility. You don't have to win. Nothing has to happen for you to be a member of the New York Islanders. Just no, doesn't happen.
The BK Italian kid, Grump.
Loving the Sopranos, T. Yep, forget about it.
And your winner, Dumbass TJ. Yeah, there we go. Dumbass TJ got the most votes. There it is, Michael M. We got the most votes. Chris Smith said here, Grumpy, I've said this before, the direction of the team isn't going to get better until Lou, who's 81 years old, stops trading away first-round picks every single year. Yeah, 4 years in a row with trading away first-round picks.
You're not lying.
Trouble in paradise.
This team is never going to win anything as long as he's GM. Just not going to happen. Not happening.
I didn't hear anything on the Pulak thing. Is there any evidence of what Pulak said is wrong? Here's the thing: we're not going to do anything. The only thing I can imagine us doing is maybe trading away Josh Bailey. But that's what it is. Okay, there's the list too that Johnny Mac put out there. And Jason Botterill is the head of scouting and assistant general manager for Pittsburgh's 3 Cups. Okay, I'm down for Eric Tulsky. I am.
Yeah, I just don't think we're going to do anything, honestly.
Harry S. I'm sorry.
Trade them all for picks.
Trade them all for picks.
Why not? Why not? You're not winning with this group.
Trevelling and Botterill would be my picks. Frank said COVID, we were fucked. It was a legitimate excuse. We played 9 games, half with AHL players, and shortly after, the other teams would immediately have the games canceled by the league. They didn't have a roster half the AHL team.
We were 20 points out of a playoff spot. No. Other teams would not automatically had. Some of them did. Some didn't. Every team had COVID. Sorry.
Our team got saddled with COVID early, but we were playing teams where they were missing 2 or 3 of their star players, or our team was completely healthy. So, like, we were playing, hey, we had an advantage. We couldn't beat those teams.
Weren't good enough.
Andre M says, Ledecky kisses Lou's shoes, worships him, and can't get facts right about how many cups that Lou has won. Exactly.
True.
We need to find out an ambush the next time that Sparky's out there doing an event, or maybe the next time they're out there, maybe Ledecky, the next time Ledecky's out there planting flowers on the Hempstead Turnpike. Maybe we need to have a whole bunch of people bombard him and ask him questions. Hey, why are we happy with the team's freaking abject failure? We need to, God damn. They need to just address the damn fans. The BK Talent Kid said, did you see which of the general managers have a WhatsApp group chat? Oh, that the general managers have a WhatsApp group chat. How much do you want to bet that Lou has zero clue about that? Hold on. This is real?
I don't know. I'm not part of any WhatsApp group chat.
Hold on a second. Yes. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, this is a rumor.
Okay. I'm just saying, can you tell who the members are? And if he's not a member, holy shit.
Okay. So there are rumors that all 32 okay, well, this has been removed by moderators. Why are they removing this shit? Oh, the post has been removed because it's a duplicate post or story. So all 32 general managers are reportedly part of a WhatsApp group chat, and if they're fired, they're kicked out immediately. So apparently, like WhatsApp, imagine that, Grumpy, is like, imagine like you text. It's like a texting thing. You text people, they all can text each other, but instead of giving away their actual phone numbers, I don't know, they what's not each other or WhatsApp each other, whatever the hell that thing is. So, yeah, Lou Lamoriello's still sending out carrier pigeons, so he's not using tech like that, I would assume.
Pony Express.
The trade for Horvat will be an A to a B, or B to an A. I'm sorry. Horvat or Romanov was a great trade. B plus. No. Oh, no. BK Italian says, I'm really scared about Sorokin's contract coming up. I really pray they don't botch it. If he doesn't sign a contract going into next season, you've got to move him. And I say you want to be proactive about that. You want to talk about the failure? You want to talk about a failure of general manager? Tell me that the perception of Lou doesn't completely fall flat on its face if Sorokin's like, well, we don't have a contract extension signed before new season starts, and then look to start trading him. Lou is comically bad at this point, says Frank K. Yeah. Yep. In my opinion, Matt Barzal is overrated. Oh, Harry.
He's playing with dog shit.
Yep.
That's what he's playing with. He's playing with dog shit. And you can't say anything about the playoffs. He was obviously not 100%. He didn't have that second gear at all.
Yep. Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
Just got here and wasn't certain what the poll question was, but I figured voting for Grumpy was a safe bet. Owls are like lazy employees, bare minimum, play it safe, no desire to be great. He's not lying.
Listen to how many people just came in and saw Grumpy or dumbass TJ's point and just voted for you, Grumpy. That was an unfair.
You're a dumbass.
Unfair, Grumpy.
Now, I believe Freedom Fund Adventure's name is George, I believe. Is that correct? Okay. I want to because I forget. You'd understand.
Look at Jake. Jake and the family. Look at that. I think they're in some place in the UK.
Hold on. Let's look at this. Man, look at that. Yeah, they got themselves a castle. Man,
that's actually the Jake. That's the 2 minutes of pessimisticing's estate. So that's where they live.
That's what I'm saying. He's doing really well for himself, him and the family. This team can't afford to not talk to the media. Absolutely. Yep. I don't think it's a positive like DJ teams think it is.
I don't think it's a positive. I'm just telling you.
Back to Freedom Fund Adventure. I like the Islanders to get. They need more skill, physicality, skating, and size. Horvat, Romanov, and Engvall, the last draft, all indicated. I dislike they aren't making enough moves and keeping the comfy crew intact. Exactly.
I can't answer the poll. You have me chuckling, and I can't remember what the premise was. Just remember,
that's another vote that would have been for me. Jake says one of your calling guys said that if Lou were truly back, he would have already spoken to the media. I felt that was a good point.
I thought that was the case too, but we were under the perception based off of people who were very reliable sources that Lou was going to be kicked upstairs. They were going to go ahead and move away. He was going to move to hockey ops, and they're going to bring a new GM in. Andrew Gross's report said the exact opposite. I couldn't tell you what the hell they're doing. The longer they wait, if Andrew Gross never said anything, I would have been very strong into thinking Lou Lamoriello's been kicked upstairs, new GM's coming in, which also meant new coach. We also had heard that probably looking for a new coach, new vision a little bit, or a new transition, new ideology, perhaps. But Andrew Gross's article completely disagreed with that. So I was like, well, I'll go with Gross for right now until we see something else. Ponybar Curtis Grumpy.
Boys, I had so many brilliant comments ignored over the last couple of podcasts because of clowns like Phil's fiction, the human benzodiazepam, fawning to change Lou's diaper and stupid call-in shows.
The call-in shows are fun, Pony Boy. We even got a call-in from Andrew Gross, Pony Boy Curtis. It was a fantastic show. Andrew Gross called in. Flex Crew says here, "What's up, guys? I missed a call-in show last week. Hope all is well. What's up, Flex Crew? Flex Crew, Grumpy. TJ, I just want you to know you don't need to take or talk down on yourself just because Grumpy bullies you into doing so. You're a great person." That's right, Drew. That's right. I think the sympathy vote should have bumped me up even more on that. Grumpy, I'm thinking about ending this podcast because of how meanly you just spoke to me.
Grow up. Next comment.
I need to get on the show. LOL. You guys are so negative. Mike, we'll have you on. I've got to schedule up.
I'd love to have Michael on the show because I like him. I do. Here's the thing, Michael. It's not negative. It's realism. Here's
Michael
the thing.
agrees with us on mostly all of our points, except
I know he's very young. I understand. He could be one of my younger children. So I understand.
Son X's age.
He's whose age?
Son X's age.
So there you go, right there. The back of his head is still soft back there, still hardening up a little bit, which is okay. Here's the thing. It's called realism. It's not called negativity. It's just realism. And Michael, I remember you could not answer my question about who the Islanders had to give up that other teams wanted.
I don't know. We'll be on. JP Grumpy.
I also agree with a couple other folks, including John M. here, that Jason Bottrell would be a good choice for GM as well. I wouldn't sleep on the other guy, Darsh, as a choice.
Red Mazda.
Everyday Isles, just living in the present with that IG post. This team is done for in 5 years on offense unless we get younger. Barzell and Horvat are only young top six forwards, and Horvat's 28 of that. Exactly. We have nothing coming up in the mind. Nothing.
Michael M. said this Sounders organization and team is very different from the team I grew up watching. Absolutely. Yep. And I want them to continue to progress. But it's like when they use, look at how bad things were. That's why with how great things are now, we should be happy of the Reverend Lou Lamoriello. The Islanders' last good general manager was named Bill Torrey. I think Lou Lamoriello was good for the first few years he was here. He served the purpose. He was here.
He was nowhere near as good as Bill Torrey.
No,
nowhere near as good as Bill
saying
Torrey.
He is. No. I'm just saying, compared to the prior general managers who we have, he was the best general manager since Bill Torrey.
Neil Smith was good for 40 days.
Coaches haven't been much better, but owners didn't set up anybody to succeed. Now owners set everybody up to succeed, and past his prime, Lou is stopping the success.
He's not lying.
JP says Engvald's a bottom six player, period.
True. That's what he is.
We need youth, speed, and finisher. Michael M. says Sorokin was the reason, with question marks. The team played so much better at the end of the year. I don't know.
No. We played some shitty teams.
Kutscheit's revenge, Grumpy.
I would not want Cheka, whatever the hell his name is, the young guy. He relies on stats too much and failed as the Coyotes GM. He had some other issues going on as well, though. Bottrell was an unaspiring, failed GM in Buffalo, and forget Bergevin had difficulty putting together winning Montreal teams.
Michael M. said they have a first-round pick, William DeFore and Dobson. Those are the guys we want to trade. DeFore,
for what?
For what? So high on.
What do you think that gets you? It's not getting you William Nylander.
No, Grumpy. You know what that's going to go ahead and get us? That's going to get us Clayton Keller, and that's going to solve all of our problems. That's what Phil put out. I'm telling you, Phil is a menace to the fan base, an absolute menace, Grump.
Phil doesn't know shit. Phil just looks at something. He's like, let me see. Let me try to draw up some ridiculous thing like someone's going to want whatever we give them. William DeFore has no value. Zero, none, nada, nothing.
Little.
No value to any team. None. No freaking value is William DeFore. Dobson does, and a first-round pick does, especially if it's in the top 5. So that would be, but you know what? You're not getting anyone of any value. Clayton Keller is an okay player. He's nothing special. He's nothing special.
Even shitty teams have players who score.
That's right. Even shitty teams have players who score. And I don't hate Clayton Keller, but it's like, does that make you a better team? Because now you don't have a defenseman who can move the puck out of the back end. Not one.
Vinny L says this old shitbag will lose Sorokin for nothing, like he lost Tavares. Well, he didn't lose.
That was not his fault. That was not Lamerleau's fault.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, he lost Tavares. No big time players care about playing for this old shitbag. Talking about Lou. If they don't, I think here's the thing. Lou has been proactive with re-signing back our own players. I feel confident that we will probably get Sorokin re-signed back. If he's not signed back in this offseason, I don't think he signs back.
I think he signs back as well.
I think he signs back this offseason. I do. Lou has done, right? We talk about where Lou has been consistent. He's consistently not addressed certain gaping holes on our team, which would lead me to believe he won't continue to do that. But he has consistently signed back our players. So I think he will be able to get the job done with Sorokin. So did it with Barzal, did it with Pellick, did it with Pulak. He's done it with players that need to be kept. I believe he'll do it with Sorokin. JP said, Frank, how many bottom 6 players are going to stuff are going to stuff into your cap? Are you going to stuff into your cap? At least they count, they were at least at last count, they're hovering around 10 or so players that are bottom 6 players.
That's the majority of the team are bottom 6 guys. They play top 6 on our team, but that doesn't mean they're top 6 players.
Frank Grumpy.
Maybe all sports are rigged and the Islanders aren't allowed to succeed. Well, that might be the case, but you'd have to be good to prove that out. On Point says, it doesn't seem like Malkin has someone independent in his ear to guide him on hockey-related decisions. He needs a fresh voice to show him on Lou's methods are outdated. Mm-hmm. I don't know how involved they are. Here's the thing. All I know is Lou Lamoriello is not the answer going forward.
Right.
Not.
Red Monster Grumpy.
The fact that Lou has given away 4 first-round picks in a row and the team has not gotten noticeably better on offense solidifies Lou's failure as a GM. He turned out future into toast. And you could see it coming from a mile away.
Vinny L. Grumpy.
This team is not even a borderline playoff team. It took 82 games and a major upset that landed them in the playoffs. Exactly.
JP Grump.
Frank, pro sports are rigged to a great degree, but mismanagement and bad stewardship in an organization is not directly related to that. That's true.
Yep. And then Michael M. Grumpy.
Even someone like Marner and an $11 million cap hit in 2 years until free agency, you think he'd get a haul? Absolutely not. I guarantee you he's going to get when the salary cap is going up to $92 million in 2 years.
Yes.
From 82.5 now to 92. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
He's got talent. He's got skill. He's one of those. When you have talent like that, people are willing to pay.
Yep.
Johnny Mac Grumpy.
There are a couple I would not pick either. I think all 5 names are better than Lou. Hurricanes guy would be intriguing. That's a guy I like too.
Yep. A free to fun adventure, Grumpy.
TJ, I again did not receive show notification. I'm being discriminated against.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. You could get Nylander or better yet, Connor from Kyle Connor from Winnipeg if you trade a D-man, Nelson or Pajot and use those assets. But think about your weakening. We're so far away from being really good, and you want to trade Nelson, who's been our most consistent scorer the last 2, our only first-round pick again, so which means we're not going to be getting any younger or better going forward. I don't see it. And I don't see Kyle Connor leaving there. That's not a guy they move.
JP says, let's not assume Scott Malkin and John Ledecky give a damn about hockey operations. Yeah, I don't. I think they care. I think they care to the extent that it gets money in their pocket and it's a large investment they've made. That's the extent to I think they care about. Andre M. Grumpy.
Lou of the Islanders in the same crappy mess that he left the Devils with. Absolutely. And he would have left Toronto in, except Shanahan stepped in and kicked him upstairs.
He already has, says JP. TJ, are you Grumpy's offspring? Yes, Stephen V. Yes. Yes, Grumpy's my dad. Harry S. Grumpy.
Frank, come on now. New Jersey Devils are leaps and bounds better than the Islanders. Yeah, but they weren't when he left.
Bro, DraftKings markets their ads towards degenerate gamblers. Yes, they do. Just like beer commercials. It's like, I think it's something like 87% of all alcohol consumption happens by 10% of the population. You know, they're trying to advertise there's a hardcore drinkers, not the casual drinkers. That's for certain. Dan L. Grumpy.
With my baby.
There it is, Grumpy.
The
Dan
baby's in it. He says, I'm in agreement with you about the need to rebuild the team. However, you frequently speak about the fans being used to losing, and who can blame them for the awful franchise we've been for decades when glorifying Lou? Do you worry that losing will become part of the culture with this rebuild? As we see, it is hard to break that losing culture. Hate to see it happen again. What Lamoriello should have done, like I've said for years and years, when he and Trotz came in, don't roll your eyes. They should have came in.
Question.
I'm answering the question. They should have done the rebuild.
Got a million comments, and you're going to take a. Oh, go ahead.
They should have done the rebuild right then, and then the team would be full string ready to go. It doesn't matter because the longer he stays, it just puts off a rebuild. Every organization has to go through a rebuild. You know, it's not like with the way the NHL and all pro sports are now, teams don't stay at the top. As long as you have really good players, you can stay up longer than most. But it's real difficult. When you're stuck on the hamster wheel of mediocrity, it's really, really tough to get out of that. Fans need to.
Are you going to answer the question? Are they going to have a losing culture if they go through a rebuild? Holy shit. Please answer the question. We have a lot of comments.
I still think we have a losing culture. I still think we have a losing culture. What if we won? I don't think it's really changed. We're a borderline playoff team. That's not a winning culture.
I think we're a team that we had a complete abject losing culture, and now it's been more of a we're competing again. And he was just worried, can we slip back into the losing mentality? Depends on how the transition goes, right? If you fail a rebuild or two rebuilds, absolutely you can slip back into the same spot. But with the ownership group putting money in, I think it will be tougher to be a failure and to have the loser mindset and mentality slip back in.
That's
answer the question quickly. That's how you answer questions quick.
Well, I take my time. What can I tell you?
We got a lot of comments, Grumpy. We're not even halfway through. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes in. So I want to try to get through as many comments before we get our cutoff time. So Michael M. Grumpy.
Dan, they can't rebuild with year one of Barzell and Horvat. Well,
it'd be a PR
that's what happens when it'd be a PR. Again, PR disaster. I don't give a shit. I remember Arthur Staple answering a question when somebody said to him, hey, what about, don't sign Anders Lee back to that ridiculous deal. Well, how would it look if you lost your captain 2 years ago? Who gives a shit? You're trying to make the team better. Don't worry about PR, but try to make the team better.
Trade Brock.
Absolutely. Why not?
This is depressing. It sucks being a diehard Islander fan. It does. It does. We did have some time where it was cool. Hey, Crazy Man says, yeah, he stinks. But we did have a time period where it was good. I truly did believe when we were making those Eastern Conference Finals runs, we had a legitimate chance to win a cup. I'm off that thought process now. I think that there's more. Yeah, need to change the direction. Let's see here, Grumpy. No trade on Brock. We need to add more players like Brock Nelson. Dan L said
more 32, 33-year-olds. That's what we need. Okay.
Dan L said that's my thought too. I think it's the best thing we can do, but it would definitely be a PR disaster.
Oh well.
Michael M said, I'm giving you boys a 1-star until you let me duel Grumpy. Oh. And I don't understand the immediate negative mindset.
Because we've been watching the same thing deteriorate year after year after year with no prospect of changing for the better.
Yep. Until they come out and say we're looking to make significant or serious change on the path we're on, I expect more of the same.
I don't buy their level of bullshit. That's the problem, because that's what it is.
Michael M says, if Sorokin is as good as Grumpy says, you don't rebuild.
Why not?
You can still rebuild.
Why not? Should have already done it. Should have already done the transition. You just make it harder and harder. The more trading away draft picks and not getting draft capital back for UFAs, the longer the road is to come back.
Guys like William DeFore are so fantastic, like we've been told. And Matthew Maggio, like Phil's Facts love to say, how great they are.
Round picks.
Well, hey, guys, they're so great. We just need to augment maybe 1 or 2 more players in our minor league system, and we're going to be right back up there because we've done such a good job. Lou Lamoriello has in these drafts, so don't fret. No,
We were told how great Simon Holmstrom was. Couldn't even get on the ice in the playoffs.
Grumpy needs a positive reality check. Nick D says, happy birthday, Warden. Looky there. Nick D remembered. Happy birthday. Oh, yeah, you mentioned it too.
Mm-hmm.
He's complimenting Snow and hounding Lou. Snow did certain things well. He did a lot of things bad.
He didn't lose a trade, really. Certainly not like Lou does.
Didn't make a lot of trades, but didn't lose any of them, really.
No, Boychuk, Letty.
The Vanek mishandling. He mishandled the Vanek situation, absolutely.
And Tavares was the biggest mishandled of all. That was the worst.
Watching you guys, but not listening. It's not that exciting. But I love you guys. Well, thanks, Steven. Thanks, Steven. You can always watch the replay, too. We always get through it. Agreed. Lou needs a pink slip. If we got a real general manager, Harry, or else we totally ruined the team. Could have had a first and a second for Varlamov and Mayfield. What a major screw-up by Lou. Enjoy watching them with Trotz.
Absolutely. That's what you do. You move UFAs. You don't keep them for a team was a marginal playoff team. Period.
Rick Roma says, I didn't know that. DJ always blames Grunt for being late on social media. I did that once when he was there watching Ted Lasso.
Oh.
I do not blame. Okay, Grumpy. I don't make any social media posts. Very limited. I don't even do a good enough job responding back to people who send us messages on social media. I got to do better on that. Andre M. Grumpy.
Dubois makes no sense. Why another center? Because that's the flavor of the week.
Rick Roma.
I apologize, Grumpy. I follow TJ on social media and he always blames you for the late starts. I believe that because I have no social media presence.
He's joking with you, Grumpy.
It's the truth. I understand. I see how it goes.
Mario, Grumpy.
So if the organization is a joke, then how exactly has Lamoriello brought back credibility?
I don't think we're a joke. I think we're much better. We were a joke. We're not that level of a joke now.
No, I think we still get respect.
Absolutely.
But we're just not a good team. We're just not a team that's going to win anything.
I don't think we're a joke at all. Nick D says here, Canucks fans on Twitter are trying to spread rumors about Jim Benning being the next general manager of TML. Because somebody took a picture of Jim Benning in Pearson Airport, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay. Harry says here, I'm a fan since 72, former season ticket holder, but the shit's getting old.
There you go.
I don't want to do this. He'll surface anywhere this year. I don't think will surface anywhere this year. Yeah, I don't think he will, is what Steven's saying. I think he'll probably take a year off. Maybe not, though. I think we broke Grumpy. Oh, no. Grumpy, you got broken? He's saying that the Leafs have been more successful. I don't think the Leafs have been more successful.
Look at the record. Look at the regular season record, right? If we played in the Atlantic Division, probably don't even make the playoffs half the time.
Over the last 5 years, if we were in the Atlantic and they were in our division, it would be different.
It'd be flip-flopped.
But sure, but if we're just talking about the Leafs, they're not, though. We're just talking about the Leafs and the Islanders. The Islanders have had more success over the last 5 years than the Leafs had.
The thing is, Leafs fans don't look at them as success, where their record in the regular season has been infinitely better than ours. And some Islander fans, Michael, seem to think that the Islanders have somehow been a success when they've won nothing either. It's just the expectations. Toronto has greater expectations than Islander fans do.
Freedom Fund Adventure, George Grumpy.
Did you read the Athletic article? Pulak says the team doesn't need much new blood, but Wood and Nystrom both indicated they do. No shit. Grumpy, if you want the 5 stars, I need to hear you listen to Havana 3 a.m. I have not listened to that yet.
Grumpy. Now, okay, George is not going to say 5-star review for you now, Grumpy. Damn it. Michael M. Grumpy.
Oh, so if the Islanders had 200 points in the regular season, it's impossible to have 200 points in the regular season. And lost in the first round every year, Grumpy would say they're more successful. No, I'm saying neither is successful. That's my point. Neither is successful. Okay, I don't think Toronto's successful. And I know the Islanders haven't been. Neither successful.
Frank K just sent me something. This was just done like less than an hour ago. So this is done during our show. Sportsnet made a post saying the Penguins are expected to reach out and to ask permission to speak with Kyle Dubas.
He's
So
not under
that was
that's
for
right.
Elliot Freeman. So
Okay.
it looks like probably the Penguins are going to get Kyle Dubas.
There you go. Don't tell me
This
he won't
company
turn
would
that
say,
team. But here's the
"Excuse
thing. One thing about Dubas, he wasn't able to get a goalie for Toronto.
I love Grumpy. Love Grumpy. Can't. Too old, too slow. No trade clauses. Welcome to years of empty seats again, says
Yeah.
John D.
Just realistically look at things.
Dan L. Grumpy.
Do you worry that since the Islanders took Carolina to 6 games with 2 OT losses and a couple of tough goals against, and the fast young Devils lost in 5, that they think the Islanders close? We were outscored. Here's the thing. We played their backup goalie who sucked out loud and let in how many soft goals? That game in realistically, 5 games. Should have been 5.
Dan, I do worry. Let's say the Hurricanes advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. There will be a contingency in a portion of the fan base and possibly ownership and possibly the general manager that think, well, we took Carolina to 6 and lost really close, but, they beat the Devils, they beat the Florida Panthers, and they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. If only a few different things went our way and we beat Carolina, we could be in the Stanley Cup Finals. There will be a delusional portion that thinks that way, because I think that's the only way to put it, delusional. Because to say that, oh, we're going to beat them, then we're going to beat the Devils, then we're going to beat the Florida Panthers, we didn't even get past the first step. You're right. We did play a backup goalie. Teravainen was out. We took him out for that series.
Svechnikov, Pacioretty.
Yeah. But those other teams played against them without those players too. But anyway.
Well, but they had their goalie. They had Anderson came back.
Yes.
There's the difference. There's your difference.
Like screw Grumpy.
I don't understand how some fans want Dubas. He has handed the team Lou built. Lou did not build the Toronto Maple Leafs, by the way, and did nothing with it. He did nothing with the Maple Leafs.
Burn it down, says Harry. Bring up everyone from Bridgeport and trade Barzal, Soronka, and Nelson for picks. Harry wants to blow the entire thing up.
Why not?
Andre M says here, Lou could care less about the fans, calling them armchair general managers before he finally made a move for Horvat. Yeah, Lou's worn out his welcome. Thanks so much for what you've done. Every day you stay here, you negatively impact the organization. Just that simple. Okay. TJ is a dumbass, says Tim Gordon. Okay. Michael M says here, their Stanley Cup was 5 playoff wins. 5!
2.5 more times than the Islanders won this year.
Their Stanley Cup was 5 playoff wins to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, got
2.5 more times than the Islanders won.
Sure. Rick Roma said, do you think the Islanders general manager job is appealing for good general managers out there right now? No prospect pool, no first round pick, and a loaded draft, and an aged, slow team that's capped out. The only thing that could make it appealing is a promise, a long contract with a lot of money, and a promise from ownership. Hey, we're going to give you a long contract to build the team the way you want it to. It's going to come with a lot of money in your pocket, and we're going to give you long-term in order to do this. Those are the 3 things that are there. So that's the only way you can make a job like that appealing.
We don't even have a whole lot on this team that you could trade that's going to generate a whole lot of draft capital coming back.
That's why it's got to be a long-term contract, because if not, right, you're almost looking at a guy who's a transition GM.
Yeah.
JK Grumpy.
Grump, after listening to the last podcast, your opinion on Mike Milbury is interesting. I find Milbury indefensible, except for getting rid of Kirk Muller and claiming Osgood off waivers. Yeah, he didn't have any money to work with, but he did the opposite of what a GM should do in that situation. Instead of keeping young talent on a shoestring budget, he got rid of youth. He did whatever Charles Wang told him to do. That's what he's did. And the biggest thing, and his thing, I'm not defending Milbury. The trading Luongo was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
But when you're not allowed to have any money, or not even allowed to spend to the cap floor, and that was before the cap floor. They were spending nothing. They were on a total shoestring budget, and he drafted guys, but then he had to move them when their contracts came up. I'm not defending him at all, but at least he didn't really cry about it. He just did it. And it was what it was. I don't think he was a great GM. I don't. But you think Lou Lamoriello could do that? Absolutely not. It was a tough time for everybody. So
yep, you can blame ownership in the situation, but a lot of what
when they
Milbury
let him,
was in
the
defense.
year that Wong wanted him to get some players to bring in was the year he brought in Yashin and Pekka, and they made the playoffs and all that stuff, and then it went back to nope, we're not spending any money.
Milbury was a shitty GM, but he was kind of forced to do what he did.
Yeah.
But
then same thing with Snow. When you're hamstrung by financial constraints, that's not been the case for Lamoriello. Anything he's wanted, he's gotten. Anything.
Harry S. said, no killer instinct, no balls to the walls. Players are way too comfortable with mediocrity.
Very true. Very true.
If Lou signs a 3-year extension, 3 years, do you think he'll last it out? Lou would be 80. He'll be actually 84 because by the time the season starts, I think he'll be 81. So he'll be 84. They signed a 3-year extension. How embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah. Excuses, Grumpy. The Leafs blew so many first.
Absolutely, they did.
Yep. A lot of that has to do with no heart and not having they didn't have the grit and the sandpaper, and they just don't have the heart. You know, you had to talk about a bad culture. The Leafs have a shitty culture. That's just a bad culture in the locker room. We have a great culture we used to have a great culture in the locker room. I think it's kind of started to sour a bit as the mediocrity sets in.
The guys get older, they're more comfortable just playing out the string.
If you asked me about our team's culture 3 or 4 years ago, I would tell you we have a great culture. We fought for every inch on the ice. That, like, you saw the effort. You saw us expending that 110% every single shift, every single game out there, and it's just, no, that's not the same way we play. JK said, I agree with our fans having a loser mentality. When the fans at UBS chant, we want playoffs, I just roll my eyes. I doubt other team fans chant that way.
Exactly. That's what I mean. We're used to losing, so just making the playoffs is a win for us. No, sorry.
Yep. What's up, Max Power? How are you? John D said, remember the years I went with my dad to home openers with empty arenas? We're not too far away.
Yeah.
It won't be that bad, but it'll be in the future. Certainly in the future, that's what it's going to look like. Mario says here, Sparky planting trees on this day in Islanders history posts are all of a sudden on all the Islander pages. Jesus Christ.
Embarrassing. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Rick Roma, Grumpy. I do agree with this.
I think Dubas yelling at fans just shows the immense pressure he was under in that market. He also had trades blocked by Shanahan. That's kind of unfair for a young GM. Now, I didn't know that. So I don't know what he was trying to move. But I mean, he was very adamant that he would move some of the core pieces. Maybe that was something that Shanahan didn't want to do. They are going to have to move a core piece, though. If they want to be successful, they're going to have to move a core piece.
Michael M. said, I don't understand how wanting the playoffs is a loser mentality. The want should be wanting a cup.
You should automatically say, we're making the playoffs. We want to win the cup.
I shouldn't even have to speak about making the playoffs because it's such the expectation where if we don't make the playoffs, it's every single member of that organization is canned. Every single member in hockey ops is canned. Because that's right. Making the postseason means I was a 500 club. I was a team that was in the middle of the pack. You could be a middle of the pack team and make the postseason. 16 of the 32 teams in the NHL make the postseason.
Yeah.
Florida's in the Eastern Conference Finals after making the wild card. Yeah, a little different for Florida. They had a slump. Go ahead, Grump.
You want who's not? The Islanders. You want to know why? Islanders aren't good enough. Not good enough.
Remember how often we heard, Florida's not going to do anything because they don't have their defense is miserable. They do this. They score a lot of goals, but their defense is shitty. Well, their goalie determined to show up and play vintage Bobrovsky. Their defense hasn't been great still, but their goalie stood on his head and they have immense amount of scoring ability.
Their defense has been better, but it's Tkachuk. It's a difference maker player.
Yep.
That's what he is.
Max Power says Toronto has been on the opposite of success, especially given the the amount of talent up front that the team has.
Exactly. They're the same.
Frank Grumpy.
The new building is amazing, so that helps. And we'll continue to compete for the last playoff spot. We'll be better because Horvat and Barzy and Wally will put up more points for sure.
That's assuming.
And Florida's up 2-0 in the series.
See you later, Well, here's the thing. We don't have to worry about answering what would Carolina do if they won the cup, because Carolina is going to get swept by the Florida Panthers.
I don't think
See you later. Happy trails, Carolina. Happy trails. They're done.
Here's the thing. We couldn't beat Florida either. That's another team we can't beat.
Florida, we got owned by this season. We've been owned by in the past. It doesn't matter. So I will tell you one thing. Now that narrative dies. Thank God. We don't have to hear the.
Well, it's still early. No, it's still early. It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
That series is over. That series is over.
Okay, stop. It's not over yet. I mean,
Carolina has lost a game in 4 overtimes. They lost a game in overtime, both on home ice. They're a team that over the last 3 years has struggled on the road until this year, where they beat the Islanders in a few road games.
Well,
they struggled over the last.
Everybody beats the Islanders. Come on, it's not fair.
That's what I about to say. They struggled on the road. That's my point. They've struggled on the road. They've lost both games at home, where they're usually strongest. 1 in 4 overtimes, 1 in 1 overtime, or at the very beginning of the first overtime here. And now you're going to be going 2 away games. They're done. See you later, Carolina. Think about the injuries they had. If they weren't as banged up as they were, you'd have a different conversation. Stephen V. Grumpy.
I'm getting vibes that you really don't like Lou, Grumpy. I have a feel for these things. I just think his time has passed. That's all. His time has passed. He's the oldest GM in the history of organized sports who didn't own a team.
JP says, Florida's performance in the playoff this year really speaks to my argument that first overall actually means something a lot of the time.
I don't know. They were really good last year. They took a major step back while Tkachuk was revamping the culture there. He dragged them through that. He single-handedly beat Boston. And then the same thing with Toronto was him. And now the whole team believes. And the goalie's been good. Their defense has been a little bit better. They're really good offensively.
Andre M says, Grumpy, Florida had great assets like Huberdeau and Weegar. Unless the Islanders trade away Barzal and Dobson, we have nothing remotely close. Well, we don't have the cast and crew to trade away guys like Dobson and Barzal and go on without missing a beat.
What did Florida still have? Okay, when they traded Huberdeau and Weegar, they still had Ekblad and Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe. And, I'm not all up, but they had a really whole bunch of good young players on that team, or in their prime players. That's the difference. Florida's players are in their prime.
Last comment here, Grumpy. We're approaching there 2 hours and 45
Grumpy,
minutes.
did you see the salary prediction in the Athletic for Jari? It's something about 6 years, 6.8 million, freaking ridiculous. I tell you what, I wouldn't give him a nickel. Not a nickel.
Oh, man. Sorry we did not get through all the comments, guys. Carolina down in the series 2-0, headed on the road to play Florida. Islanders still all quiet on the Western Front.
Eastern Front.
All quiet on the Eastern Front. I was trying to pay homage to the book, but all quiet on the Eastern Front. I like that one better. Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning and listening to the show. We'll be live with you guys tomorrow on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show. We'll also be live on Wednesday. We're going to start getting some guests lined up. We got to start doing some of that, prepping the off-season work. We got to start doing some of that information, some work on that side, but start having our guests on for our off-season shows. That's always fun, to have conversing opinions as to what the Islanders should do, and then when they eventually do nothing, all that fun stuff. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the show here today. We'll be with you guys live next Wednesday on this show, and we'll be with you guys live tomorrow on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, which you can find in the link in the description below or as a featured page on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and thank you, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.